6:30, call to order the September 21st meeting of the Hingham Historic Districts Commission at 6:30 p.m. This meeting is being held remotely as an alternative means of public access pursuant to Chapter 2 of the Acts of 2023 and all other applicable laws temporarily amending certain provisions of the open meeting law. You're hereby advised that this meeting and all communications during this meeting are being recorded by the town of Hingham in accordance with the open meeting law. Okay, so we have two continued items from last meeting, 693 Main Street and 339 Main Street. Both of those items, the voting members are going to be Catherine, Carol, Eric, Josh, and myself, as Justin was not at our last meeting. And the minutes aren't available yet, and the recording is not available. And then the other four items, 332 Middle, 107 Main Street, 3 West, and 224 South Street will have Catherine, Carol, Eric, Justin, and myself be the voting members. So to try to keep us on time, I'll turn it over to, I assume Doug Jack is presenting for the Fatzinger family. Great.
Yep.
Hi, Doug.
Hello, good evening, everyone.
Hi.
Hi, Stephanie.
Andrew, I think you just have to allow me to share my screen.
Yeah, Daniel can do that.
Yep, you should be good.
Oh, great. Try again. There we go.
Go ahead, buddy. You can go. Great.
Okay.
So this is a continued meeting from last time. We had asked you to review some of the massing and some of the details related to venting, and so we've given you some direction on that. So if you want to, instead of going through the whole packet, focus on just those changes, that would be great. Yeah,
definitely. I'll fast forward to the beginning here and cut to portions that were changed. So I corrected the patio doors, so they're French in the plan, and I updated the cut sheet at the end, so they're not sliders, they're French swinging doors. And then the second thing is we're showing that the range hood is going to vent this direction above that window, with the caveat that we'll need the builder to fix the top half of the sash to keep the vent 3 feet from an operable opening. So it's going to be a little tricky for them to figure out, but I think it's doable, and it's worth it for the visual payoff. And then the other big change from last time is we've added a window upstairs in the kitchenette, and this is the salvaged window that was removed from the existing attic gable end, which I can show you in a moment. So this is the existing gable end, and then that's the proposed addition, and we are removing this one window. So we're going to salvage it and put it on the kitchenette side of that. So there's the elevation. Oh, we had 2 options for this. There was a request for us to look at the mullion pattern on the French doors. This is what we had shown last time, and we tried different patterns, and we still feel like that's proportionally the closest to what's existing on the house. But we did try the other way that was suggested. So this would be if you do a 2x6 grid pattern. We just feel that it's sort of foreign to the rest of the house. It gets more squat, and then there's really no like tripartite division on the existing windows, so it looked a little odd to us. This is our preferred approach, but we did show this as well for discussion. And so can
you just point out where that window's, the salvage one's going?
Yeah. Hang on one sec, almost there. All right, so this is the back view of the house. This is the side to the right when you're standing on the street looking at it. This is the right view that's currently kind of shrouded in trees, but they could disappear someday, so we're trying to be sensitive to what it looks like still. This is our addition. It's articulated kind of like a shed dormer that happened over time, just in the language of the rest of the house, which was added to over the course of a century plus. There's the salvaged window that came from the gable end. It lines up with a skylight, but you won't be able to see that from the exterior. Oh, and we're still showing this added window at the stair landing that'll match the historic one to the left of it there. And then this is a exterior view showing the way that shed dormer articulation happens, and I pulled the view way to the right. So this is a view that you really can't see unless you're in the neighbor's house currently, but if the trees were gone, you would be able to see it from the public domain. So that's the existing roof line now. This is the new roof line with our added square historic window and then the salvaged window occurring there. This is an existing bow window that we're leaving down below. So product wise, we updated this to be the all wood Marvin window. And we still have the same historic profiles. And then here's the all wood ultimate wood French swinging door from Marvin, which we're intending to use as well. And those are the updates.
Great.
They're swinging in, right, not out?
Correct. Yep.
Carol, do you have any other comments or questions?
Yeah, I'd like to go back to that. Thank you very much for salvaging that one window and putting it back on the second floor addition. Can we go back to that picture?
Yeah, the 3D or the elevation view?
Well, that one's fine. That one's
Okay.
fine. It shows a difference. Below that are windows that show up as looking like diamonds or something. What is that, an illusion, or the three windows together?
You know what it is? They're casement windows that were added in the 90s work. And so they have no mullions, they're triple molds, and this dashed line is just showing the direction that they operate.
So you
So-
did not apply, your application does not include changing those in any way.
No, we're just leaving them. Yeah, if we had more money, I'm sure we'd love to update that, and the Fat Singers might do it at some point, but we're not touching that room below this currently.
Okay. Too bad.
Catherine, do you have anything?
Hi, good evening. So I'm just curious about the, besides adding the window, has any of the massing changed on the kitchenette bump out?
We studied it and we didn't find an alternative massing that works. The thing that we focused on is changing the angle that you're seeing it from so you could better appreciate the massing. I think last time I had it so oblique that you didn't see the relationship to the high roof line. And we were hoping that when we pivot this view around, you see the design intent of it being articulated with this. These are really faux rakes and faux eaves that we're going to reapply to mimic what is there currently. It's articulated as if a shed dormer has been added onto the top with the same kind of language as this shed dormer that was added in the past, for example. So we honestly, we looked at it, we couldn't come up with a way to make the interior space work by lowering this roof line. It's already quite low. This is the shallowest pitch that we can do as well without it being an actual flat roof. And we were hoping that this view would be convincing.
What does the, does that shed need to be so shallow? Couldn't the roof begin higher to the ridge on that face of that? And wouldn't that
Yeah,
just
it could.
be a little bit more typical in a home that has such steep pitch?
Yeah, like this existing one is similar to what we're doing. This is a 1.25 on the front of the house that we're removing. So we related to that. I think the more steep we go, the more you're going to see it from the public domain, and then our skylights might become visible also. So we're trying to avoid that. The whole intent was to keep this as squat and not as least visible as possible from the street. I think if I increase it, we certainly can. There's no structural reason. The interior I could deal with through a drop ceiling to maintain the design intent, but I do think you'll start to see the skylights at a steeper pitch. Oh, one other thing I wanted to point out. These are the skylights that are on the 90s edition, and we're hoping that our shed dormer is going to help obscure a view of those from the public domain.
Plus the near column.
Yeah, particularly if you're right on the street looking down that alley.
Yeah, okay. Thank you very much. That's all I've got.
Justin, do you want to add anything?
I don't have any additional comments.
Eric?
Yeah, I don't think any additional comments. I would say like I guess you're calling it the left side. I don't have a strong opinion on the mutton pattern on those doors, so I think whatever your preference is, and by all means, in my opinion, proceed with that. On the right side, I think it's the same thing. The massing still feels a little bit of like a back side of the house, which it is. So I do appreciate the window ad there. So I don't think I have any strong opinions on it, but I don't feel passionate one way or the other, I guess.
So-
Josh,
No.
do you have anything to add?
I don't have anything new that hasn't been addressed.
Okay. Any members of the public wish to provide comment? All right, the only comment I had, I just wanted to, you definitely took some time and kind of showed us those options, more of just a feedback thing. You know, if you know, I think it's helpful if there were other versions that you studied for the dormer, just kind of sharing those and be like, hey, we did look at this. As you can see, it just doesn't work and it doesn't make sense. I think that's always helpful for us to visualize. I'm not questioning that you did it or you didn't, but it just kind of helps us round it out sometimes if we see that work product a little bit, just so we can understand it. Not sure how far you took it or if you kind of just bubble sketched or kind of dimension it. I'm not sure, but just it's always helpful to kind of see that process. Big picture feedback, just because I know that we'll be seeing you again in the future. So
I do have one question though, sorry, in relation to that dormer. Isn't there a way to make that a whole little bump out and a gable and then a more traditional roof line? And then you wouldn't have skylights, but it would give you height and maybe it wouldn't feel so squatty and odd, because it wouldn't match the gable, the main gable on to the left. Just something to think.
I was gonna sketch it on top, but I don't see the pen tool in this Zoom meeting for some reason, but yeah.
oh
if you could
yeah, it doesn't allow you to do it. Unfortunately, you have to do it in yours.
Can you see my cursor at least? Am I
Yep.
showing you the shape you're talking about?
Yeah.
I can see
Yeah.
the cursor, yep.
and
Yeah,
then
that,
you Wouldn't need
Yep.
skylights.
I think it's worth noting too, just from this view, just a reminder, there's a whole section of the house not pictured here, like towards the front. So this isn't, the shapes that you're seeing isn't the whole story, sort of like the kind of the biggest mass with the turret is even further forward than the section with the circle.
Right.
yeah, here,
So,
let me show the street view. This is the actual view. This isn't on the public domain. It's standing kind of in the front yard, showing that you can, and the part we're discussing is right here.
yeah, so we're really only seeing from the second section back in that sketch.
Here's a kind of overview from an aerial, and then that's the actual kind of street view. So we're pretty far back as far as the massing goes. But Catherine, to answer your question, totally, there's no structural reason we couldn't do that other gable. It's a lot more mass, and in general, we worked really hard to keep this thing as low as possible, to keep the big house, back house, barn, like the tiering of the shapes as we went down. So we were just trying to keep the whole thing squat. The very first pass I had, which went from the inside out, was much taller, and we didn't like it at all. So we just kept shaving. This is where we landed.
Is that whole second floor that you're doing that, or that whole back area, that's all a 90s edition total, right? Or I thought I remember that from the plans last time.
Yeah, here, let's look at this map.
Yeah.
It's pretty convoluted.
Yeah, that's right. I couldn't remember what it was.
So
okay, it was 1903. Okay.
there's portions that are older, but then this was an addition, and when they did that addition, they also gutted the interiors of this and added I think the dormer was also added upstairs.
Gotcha.
So it's pretty piecemeal.
Okay. Anybody else wish to comment? Anybody want to make a motion?
Sure, I'll make a motion.
Oh, thanks, Eric.
You make it so easy for us, Daniel, now, so it's like, how can I deny it?
Thanks.
I moved to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 693 Main Street, located in the Glad Tidings Plain Local Historic District, per original plans dated 17th of August 2023 and supplemental plans dated the 21st September 2023, with work to include the removal of existing window on the south elevation, and the infill with cedar shingles, sidings, and adding French doors on the south elevation onto an outdoor terrace and a second-story addition at the rear of the house.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Carol, how do you vote?
Aye.
Eric, how do you vote?
Aye.
Josh, how do you vote?
Aye.
Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
And it's an aye for me. So you guys have your certificate. Thank you for working with us and coming back. Appreciate it.
Thank you
Thank
so
you all.
much. Have a good night.
All right, 6:45, 5 minutes early. So apologies, we can't start for 5 minutes.
Gosh, you're so efficient. And now that we don't have to struggle through the motion, that's,
No, you're gonna have to recalibrate your times now.
I know.
Or Justin's gonna have to really work on his material.
Yeah, I think so.
Material. I don't know if I have any material.
Oh, gosh.
I'll do a quick update if that's all right, Andrew. Carol reminded me that we want to try to schedule a business meeting to follow up. We did one with when Tracy was chair. I know October is not great for myself and Carol, so if we did early November, is anybody opposed? If we found a date in the first half of November, because I know the back half will get busy.
That
Yeah,
works.
I'm saying nod, so I think that's what we'll kind of go with.
Sounds good.
And everybody's good. If I think it would be helpful if we just did it in person, in town hall. Is
Yep.
generally
Yep.
everybody's good with that? Okay.
Oh, can I take 1 minute for a public service announcement?
Absolutely.
We had a select board meeting on Monday where one of the items that I was part of bringing had to do with cell phone service in the town of Hingham. There's a citizens group that is trying to promote better cellular service in town. But one of the things I learned at the meeting is that you can text 911 from your phone now in Massachusetts. And I know a lot about telecommunications, but I did not know that you could text 911. And so there it is, my public service.
What a beautiful segue into the fire station.
Isn't that
Oh,
great?
yes.
Right?
Oh,
Mhm.
that's great.
Yes.
Well done.
I learned, I used to be on a fire station building committee in my previous town. I learned a lot about, I didn't realize when you make a phone call from a cell phone, it gets dispatched back through the state. And I'm sure Deputy Chief will correct me if I'm wrong on this or it's old. It gets dispatched around and then cycled back to the town. So like making a 911 call from your phone takes the long one. Is that right, Chief?
That's what it used to do.
Oh, okay, it doesn't anymore?
Yeah, no, the Shrek is set up. If you're in the range in town and you dial 911 from your cell, they will get it. It eliminates that loop.
And
Good.
Shrek,
They do that.
Oh,
what is-
yes. Deputy Chief, could you explain Shrek to our group here?
The
They're
Shrek is,
not sure what that is.
it's the combined dispatch that's at Town Hall, adjacent to the current police station right now. Dispatches fire and police for Hingham, Hull, Cohasset, and Norwell.
Big deal.
Everything 911 and
It's a big upgrade.
yeah, it's been running well. They're trying to upgrade their systems now too as well.
So would an 911 text arrive at this?
Yes,
Office? Yes.
Dispatch.
it's happened before. We've gotten a few of them, not many. And if you're in an accident, your car can dial the dispatch as well. They get notified of that. That might go through Cirrus or whatever you have on your car, and then it relays it to them. And then they can use the signal to zero in on your location.
Great.
Very
Wow.
good. Thank you.
All right. I'm gonna start talking for a minute and hopefully it's 6:50 and Chris Rohde can take over. So our next agenda item is 339 Main Street. And it's for a single standing seam metal roof, canopy at 2 doors at the central fire station and cladding the existing dormer. So we had previously asked for just reviewing how much you could drop the slope of the canopy. and just looking at some alternative materials. So I think that's the focus of the meeting today, is just 6/12 versus 5/12 slope and cladding material for the dormers.
There's some feedback stuff going on. Is that somebody got a radio?
I'm gonna mute Deputy Chief. I think it's coming from him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he already muted himself.
Great. All right, take it away, Chris.
All right. Well, thank you very much. Good evening. And as I'll start sharing my screen here. So a couple of things I wanted to do, and what I'll start with, and which I did not start with last week, is basically just a quick review of the shingles that we will be using on the building. And as I mentioned, we will be using asphalt shingles. The basis of design is the Certainty Grand Manor, which some of you may know from other projects around town. It's essentially the best alternate option for a shingle that you can get for slate, as far as the longevity, the visuals, pretty much everything about it. This is an image. The color palette is, I'm showing 4 different colors, but they're all effectively the same. And the image to the right is just a sample from their website on a typical kind of residential.
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing them.
Is anybody else seeing?
I am seeing your shared screen.
I am too.
Mine says personal meeting ID and a phone number.
Did you turn off your screen maybe?
Click down on the Zoom at the bottom of your the little Zoom icon. Maybe you got somehow messed up there. It's a little Zoom icon.
And I have a big screen that says Zoom. Sorry. You are viewing Chris Roddy's screen.
But you can't see it?
Nope.
Can you log out and log back in?
There have been a large number of software updates over the past week in the world, so it's.
I'm gonna throw you in the waiting
Yeah,
room.
maybe log out, log
back
back
over,
in,
Carol.
Carol. Hello again.
Where is she?
Should be back in now.
I see her.
Okay, good.
And she's nodding that she can see, so I think we're good.
Yay, okay.
Oh, great. Let me see if I can make this a little bit better. That
Now,
might
can you hear me? Yeah. Okay.
might be a little bit better. So again, just to summary, this is the shingle that the project is based upon. Nearly it's a 50-year warranty. It's effectively the best that we can do in terms of an asphalt shingle. Again, just to review this front of the building without the canopy, we looked at 2 different options. And I'll show you first the original views, and then the revised option with the lower sloping pitch. So this was the original canopy, and this is the one with the lower pitch, which I actually think is beneficial. I do think it again, there's not a huge change between the two, but I think it's enough that it, at least to my eye, it does make a difference as far as how weighty the canopy seems from the street.
Mhm.
And we don't have a tremendous amount of space to flatten it out too much. We're only flattening out an additional degree, but it does make a difference, and it does change the underlying structure slightly. But again, I think it's more of a benefit than anything else. Let's see if I go forward one. So again, straight on view, and this is the revised one where there's more brick between the back flashing and the gutter. the front essentially remains the same, but it does flatten out. You do see the underlying structure a little bit more, but again, I actually think that's a benefit. And what I've done here is that I've taken from Certainty has a really kind of interesting software on their website where you can put in a photograph and it renders in the whatever shingle that you are selecting. So this, even though the color might be a little bit off with the way that they do their renderings, this is effectively trying to show both the canopy and the new shingles at the same time. Again, this is just the original drawing, no changes here. This is the original detail through the canopy from last meeting. This is the revised one. Just needed to add one more diagonal brace. Like I said, it is a 5 and 12 instead of 6 and 12. But I think overall it's a benefit to the design. The other thing we were looking at are alternate ways of dealing with the dormers. This is the original version with trying to emulate the original intent of the building with shingles. That would be, painted cedar shingles, new trim around the windows where necessary. Two other options would be, well, one option for the front of the dormer would be simply to trim it out, creating some panelized areas, either using fiber cement or PVC. And, one option would be to have, corner boards with horizontal siding. Another option would be to have corner boards and more of a board and batten look. And a third option would be, this is the same design of the front, it's just there for reference, would be to have a larger simplified panel with a batten in the middle for the joint that is no doubt to be required there. These dormers, we have a lot more latitude with what we do because the dimension of the side walls is much greater than the side dormers, which I'll show in a moment. So again, this is the side dormer, very little to work with on the sides because of the gambrel roof. Although they're wider dormers, so there's more space on the front of the dormer. Kind of an odd little variation. So for this one, trying to do this something similar to the other dormer would basically trim it out, putting some flat panels. One option would be to get a very small amount of horizontal trim, or the other option would be a flat panel. Because of the way the existing dormer is built, any kind of option other than going back with shingles will require extending out the roof edge of all of the side dormers, and I'll show you why. You can see here that there's really, the existing trim is right up against the existing slate on both shingles, on both dormers. Same holds true on the back. So if we were to, revise or do a different approach than that of cedar shingles, we would have to build this out in order to get the thickness required so the trim wouldn't be, out beyond the roof edge, which would obviously create a water problem. And again, if you look at the original design, because they clad the dormers in slate, it seems like they didn't really want to call that much attention or make a big feature of these dormers. You've got the brick, you've got all the white trim, and then you've got the darker roof. So my concern would be that if we did go with a panel solution and paint it white, that it would be a little bit distracting, I guess, when particularly on the side elevation here, where it's such a small appendage to the building. to have something different up top might be a little distracting. Whereas if I go back to the front of the building, again, you can see, despite the white windows, you know, the mass in itself of the dormers was intentionally kept dark to really not call attention to itself. All of the features, I guess you could say, are down below and in the larger, what used to be the apparatus bay doors. That said, you know, I think any one of those options could certainly work.
Chris, I thought with the thickness of the slate, aren't they also hung on battens? So wouldn't there be enough space in there to just replace the slate and the batten with, you know, the composite material?
It doesn't appear that the slate is on battens. I think it's actually directly to the sheathing, and that part of that, if I can, let's see.
Yeah, they only typically would put those on battens when it's a vented roof assembly to get airflow, and you usually do that on sidewalls.
Right. But I just, when this part of the station was built, they simply didn't provide enough thickness in the walls to really effectively do anything but put it right up against the sheathing. Just partially why, you know, you can see, you know, failures around the building.
So are you trying to avoid the extra expense of extending the roof? Is that an expense that's large, or is it?
No, I'm just simply pointing it out because it is a change to the building. So you know, it's I don't think the expense is particularly large, you know, compared to some of the other you know, parts of the project. Just you know, simply noting that you know, because if we do, you know, replace it with, you know, trim and panel, that's just something else that needs to be modified to the building. That's all.
So Chris, I appreciate you clearly heard our feedback, came back with options. So I really appreciate that. It's subtle, but I think the 5/12 makes a difference, hides that mass a little bit, shows the trim a little bit better. I think it makes a lot of sense. Fully in support of that. I really like option B with the clapboard siding. The whole neighborhood, houses around there, all are clapboard. I feel like it ties in really well with the abutting properties. So that's my personal. I could be convinced of any of them, but I would lean that way. So those are my thoughts. But
So
Carol,
that's option C is what you're pointing out.
option B with the
option B.
fiber cement horizontal siding.
Well, there's certainly precedence for that in the neighborhood.
Yeah. So I think Carol on screen shaking her head. That's all I have. So I don't know, Carol, if you want to add anything else.
No, I agree with you completely.
Okay. Catherine, you want to add anything?
I think I'm an option C girl. I mean D. I think I prefer the triangular panel because it relates to the door, the existing, the old door panel. And
Yeah.
I think I wondered if not really what I pictured. I pictured something with a little mold, like a wider triangle molding, and then a little decorative molding to finish it up in the middle, and it just be like a simple panel. Without
Yeah, I think the big thing for me was the small ones and the big ones matching each other. I think would be nice as opposed to having two different versions.
Yeah, that doesn't. I don't think that bothers me to have them different, but
it does or doesn't.
It doesn't bother me that they're framed a little differently because they're so far apart from each other and they're different.
I just want to phrase this differently for the committee then, because this is similar to paint color combo that we had previously. I don't mind any of them. I think they can all work. I have a leaning. So I guess maybe the feedback we should give Chris and Deputy Chief are there any that we don't want to see and that we don't feel are appropriate in any way that we should have them take those off the table? Because I don't want this to turn into.
I don't think the battens, the very busy batten one.
Option C.
Yeah, I don't think that's appropriate.
Yeah. Okay.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
I'd just like to make the point that I think on the side, composite materials, would be fine. I don't think that would be appropriate in the front, and nor the fiber cement. We have never allowed it, so it's, but that's something for the board to determine.
yeah, with this being, I'm a little more comfortable with it because this is a municipal building and it's meant to, you know, right, it serves a purpose. It's, they were usually built a little bit better and to the best, you know, that the industry offered at the time. So it's a little more, you know, less sensitive in my mind, but maybe I'm out of the loop here, and I'm the only one that feels that way. But I would lean towards being okay with it because, you know, it's a different kind of building than a home, and it has a different place in the community, right? A lot of times these are shelters and things like that, so they're meant to build to last. But I don't know if the other committee members feel differently.
I agree with you.
I agree with you as well.
Okay, Chief, I do see your hand up. I'm
Handsome
gonna
as
get
our
through the committee
firefighters
members
are.
first, Chief, and Chief Deputy. I'll get through the committee and I'll circle back to you next if that's okay.
Okay,
All right, thanks. So Catherine, not really in love with C, but comfortable with the others. Is the feedback you generally had. Justin, do you want to provide any commentary?
I think what I've heard, the commission coming to letting them decide between option B and option D sounds fine, and I'm very comfortable with the synthetic material for this sort of a municipal building. And I should point out, I'm not a voting member on this, but input.
Okay. Eric, do you have any comments or questions?
Yeah, I agree with the rest of the committee. I'm probably more on Catherine's side. I think I like D better than B, mainly because B, as you mentioned, is more of a residential application. And because this is a municipal building, I feel like having it differentiate a little bit is welcome to my mind. So, but again, I would leave that decision up to them. It's not something I couldn't be swayed one way or the other. And I would just reiterate Dan's comments about doing the fiber cement or composite. I feel more comfortable with it because we're not replacing wood there, since it's already a slate siding, which we're not trying to accomplish. It feels a little more acceptable. If it was a wood existing dormer, I'd be more compelled to say let's put wood there. So just to reiterate that.
Josh, do you have any feedback?
What was the date of the existing slate roof? Has it been replaced previously?
Not to my knowledge. I think the only part that was new back in the, I don't know, Deputy, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think back in the early 2000s or 2010, something like that, was when that middle that middle section was added, and that was when they put that slate 2.0 there.
Right. Yeah, I think it was 2006 or 2008. And if I go back to, so yeah, from this point of the building over, that was all done in the early 2000s. And that slate is by far in the worst condition. The slate on the original building and also on the side addition to that building, to my knowledge, is original, and is also past its lifespan at this point.
So my only comment would be that this building was built in 1942, and so we have an 80-year-old roof, a slate roof on the building. I don't know what the warranty is on the fake slate that you're looking at. But
Josh, real quick, the shingles aren't part of this application. They were only showed as reference. That's already been approved at a previous meeting.
okay, then. Well, if we're not addressing that issue, then I don't really have any major concerns. The dormers that are clad in slate, I think that's on the 1980 edition that has the gambreled roof to the north. The Form B says it was a 1980 edition. So I don't think it really matters if we scrap the slate there. So I think no concerns.
Okay. Any Deputy Chief, you had your hand raised.
Yeah, it was just regards to the horizontal siding and the issue with like cement siding, hardy board. They also have a wood product, PL Smart Side. It looks exactly like it and is installed the same way, which I've used before on jobs, and it is less likely to crack when you start cutting small triangles to handle the slope of the side of the dormer. I don't know if that's come across your board.
No.
Installed in any house at all.
What is it a composite, Deputy Chief?
Pretty much. It's pressed together with resin and it's embossed on the front face to look just like a rough texture clapboard. But the back looks like a pressed board. It's just more durable, I think, than the hardy board. When you're dealing with smaller pieces, it's less likely to crack when you
Would
put
this
it in.
be, but could it also be PVC, or there's another product, Boral? Those are other options. I don't know if.
I just want this to last. And with the small triangles of the side of the dormer and dealing with hardy board as well, if we have that option to do, I will talk to Chris about it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Any community or citizens wish to speak that are on? I don't see any of the else seem to be okay. So the takeaway is
Dan, I have one question.
Sorry.
Chris, you had mentioned you're in favor of kind of keeping the dormers to fade into the roof, which I think is a nice effect, but does that play into color selection, or were you hinting that you wanted to do the wood shingles versus the panels? Just want to understand, are you saying it's going to be white, or is the color selection still up for debate of what those dormers are going to be?
Well, I think the color selection has not been determined. I think, to me, it was a relatively simple logic to get to a dark shingle paint if we were going to go shingles. If we were going to go basically built up with various types of trim, perhaps not. I think my personal opinion would be that having the dormers darker would be better in terms of the entire kind of visual of the building. That would be my preference, but again, has not been determined.
So Dan, is that something that Andrea can handle after?
Yeah, I think most of the times we defer to Andrea to deal with the colors, unless there's for some reason she's unsure or not comfortable. She can always bring it back to our committee. I'm comfortable with Andrea working through this as they finalize their design. So the feedback I'm hearing then is, it sounds like everybody's comfortable with that 512 change, minor but noticeable, and that B or D are preferred cladding styles for the dormers. Ultimately up to your committee to kind of take that, but option C less so preferred. So unless there's any other comments, I'm open to a motion.
I can make a motion. I gotta just pull it up. Sorry. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 339 Main Street, located in the Hingham Center Local Historic District per drawings and photographs dated 20 September 2023, with work to include the construction of 5/12 slope standing seam metal roof canopy over the front and side entry doors and cladding existing dormers with PVC cladding to
B or
replace
option B or option D?
option B or option B. Cladding to replace failed slate shingles.
Is there a second?
Second.
Great. Any discussion? Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Eric?
I,
Josh?
Aye.
It's an aye for me. So, Chris, Deputy Chief, really appreciate you taking the extra time working with us. There's subtle differences. I think it's great. So really appreciate you guys taking the extra time.
Great. Well, thank you very much.
Yep, thank you.
Good night.
Putting in over this.
Just a couple minutes behind, but yeah, we'll move on to 32 Middle Street. This is to construct a 1.5-story garage barn with a lean-to storage bay with a glassy link to the house. I like that term. And some hardscape elements. So I'm gonna guess, Sally, you're gonna take the lead, and maybe Sean will talk about hardscape. Is that the plan? Great.
Yep, that's great. Andrea, unfortunately, my drawings didn't get uploaded, so would you be able to do that for me? The drawings?
Oh, sure.
Thank you.
Hang on.
Sorry, they,
Let me
yeah,
just get to my,
someone had to leave work, kind of emergency today, so they forgot to
Okay.
upload the drawings, so I will
Okay.
hopefully rely on you. So I think maybe Sean can talk to the site plan first, only because I know he's been through some of this project with you before. The front area has already been planted and things, but maybe Sean, if you don't mind speaking to the like driveway part, and you know, he and I did kind of work on this together in citing the garage, and I failed to include this picture of the schoolhouse that's on the property. That was very bad of me, but you know, the main reason that we placed the garage barn where we did was really to, when you drive down Middle Street, that you focus on the schoolhouse. To us, that was really important. So by adding the addition to the very rear of the house, you know, it's 1800. It was built in 1810. We actually did additions to the house in 2006, adding, you know, a rear wing to it, renovating most of the house, adding the glassy room on the left side as you face the house. But again, as Dan said, we were just planning a 1-story glassy box, really, to kind of separate the house from this new structure. There'll be a little 2-story deck above, and, you know, pretty low profile, trying to make it look very barn-like.
Sally, do you want the drawings up now?
No, well, I think we'll have the site plan first, if you don't
Okay,
mind.
fine.
Christine and Greg are also on the line today. I can see them.
Well,
Looks like either outside, I see some moonlight or something
Oh,
happening.
gee.
Yes, we're actually at the Hingham Newcomers Club event, so we're trying to do it all at once.
Oh, gee.
Right.
Hello.
All right, good. So when that gets up, what you will see is, and I think what we noticed, whoever got by this site, there were plenty of folks that stopped by on Friday. Was that Friday?
Yeah, Friday. Yeah.
The little bit of weather event, and what I think they did see is it's the garage itself, the barn addition itself is sitting kind of at the edge of the existing parking area as it is today, and out to the back of it, essentially into the lawn a little ways. But the auto court itself, the driveway comes in obviously about the same way it does right now, and then the auto court that we're showing on our plan, when that gets up, and if you have that up, Andrea, or if you can,
let's see. I think yours was included with Sally's.
It
It
was. It is. Yeah, it was the first sheet on in mine.
Okay.
what it is, kind of auto court area. And
All right, hold on.
Nope.
There we go. Thank you.
Yep,
okay, so auto court area, you can see that coming in. Auto court and parking area will remain pretty similar to what it is today. You can kind of see the gray outlines, the dashed outlines of the auto court there. The current parking area and walkway the way it is today. What Sally's going to be going over is how the house is attached pretty much where the rear porch is now. The garage will be kind of at the edge of where that set of stairs in the back of the house. And Sally will go over all of that. So it really is a pretty great location to set the garage carriage house just to the rear with a link that Sally's done. The auto court sits about the same as where it is today. What we've done is put some granite accents, which you'll see in some of those photos, as well as kind of a turnaround parking area out of crushed stone, which is currently asphalt. You can see a kind of an angled dash line on this site plan going kind of from the middle of the page toward the top, certainly, and that's where the edge of the driveway is now. Not sure what this is. Bear with me. I don't know if you have something. I had some other interference on my screen. But I think I've covered mostly where it is now. What we were, again, the intention, as Sally mentioned, is leave the view to the schoolhouse, the old schoolhouse, wide open. And if you were at the site visit, you can see it's very wide open to that and then some. So we did do some granite accents going into the carriage house doors. See some pictures of that, some granite slabs and some cobbles into the shed piece that's on the outside edge of it. We will intend to do a little low retaining wall to hold the grade back and step down into the yard area. Exactly. Oh, thank you so much. He's got the telestrator going by there. So that generally covers it. It's currently an apron at the garage or the old schoolhouse. It's out of brick. May remain as brick or be stone. If we put some old antique granite stones going up to it, that's a possibility, whether it be this phase or a different phase. Hopefully I've covered everything there with that. Sally, you think you got everything? You got everything in terms of site plan there?
I see Andrea disappeared on us though, so we may have to wait till she comes back to go to the plans. But I mean, you all have sets of drawings, right? So if you go to a 1.1, that basically shows you that the garage, 2-car garage is about 28 feet by 22 feet, and a storage bay on the left side, which is about 19 by 12 feet. Dan, you brought up when we were at this site about garage doors, I believe. And I did go and talk to Mr. Clancy this morning. And oh yeah, a 1.1, Andrea.
Actually, Dan, I think you've got this going.
Oh, okay.
Don't you, Dan? You're muted.
Oh,
Dan.
Do you have all the plans? Do you want to share Sally's plans, Andrea?
Sure.
Great.
I think AB 1.1, we were just showing what's existing.
Yeah.
So a 1.1, you can see that
Stay here.
it's just a 10-foot link from the house to the garage. And again, it's just French doors, wood French doors that would be on both sides that you could get right through from one side of the house to the other with a little deck on the back.
Hold on.
Okay. Sorry that I don't have this up.
No. It's all right.
And is there a cut sheet for the doors?
The barn doors,
The French doors.
Oh, the French doors, they would be Marvin wood, you know, simulated divided light wood doors.
Mhm.
And then the windows would be Marvin, wood windows, you know, simulated divided light wood windows, where we have windows. We don't have too many of them. You know, all the materials, the house is clapboard, as you see in the photographs, so with corner boards. So, you know, the barn, if you will, and lean-to would be the same. You know, again, clapboards, corner boards, roof shingles to match. You know, rake trim is quite simple. The house is hips right now, but the schoolhouse has rake trim on it, so it would sort of emulate that. The eave trim at the front of the garage would have a gutter, you know, to cover over the doors. I did I think that Dan asked a couple questions. We're on the site about numbers of garage doors. I did go and talk to Mike Clancy today, and he did tell me that you're only allowed 3 garage doors. Well, I should not say. When I looked up the zoning, it's actually 3 covered parking spaces.
Right.
So I think Greg and Christine were wondering if we could make one big door for the 2 cars, but I don't think we can. I think so. Basically, what he's saying is we could make the lean-to a 6-foot door, and that would be fine with him. And then we can leave the door on the schoolhouse, which is a really big rolling door, which I would really rather not touch. So I think if you go to sheet A 2.2, that's the front of the garage, the barn. And so that third bay that you see,
I'm going there. I'm getting there.
Andrea's my Vanna White or whatever, you know. She's,
Yeah.
Although Vanna just got a
feeling
big pay
better.
raise. Andrea
Yeah,
did not.
Vanna just got a new contract.
Oh, she did?
Yeah.
So
Is it? Tell me when.
going. Yeah, keep going, keep going. So we're looking for A 2.2. 2 more. Keep going. So next one. Yes, so this, I think our lean-to is cut off, but that third
Just
bay.
zoom out a little bit, Andrea.
I'm sorry, what?
Just zoom out a little bit, lower right-hand corner.
Yeah. Zoom.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Good.
So there you can see the doors that, you know, it's again, the glassy box that's connecting these two, you know, just giving relief between the house and the new building. Again, new barn doors. And so that little door, the door on the left that you see would just get reduced by 2 feet. So it would be a 6-foot door if that's what the Halversons are. You know, we have to talk to them, but I don't know if they're still on, but those would probably be open doors that would open like this, that they would use for bikes and things like that. Again, materials and everything to match the house. Andrea, if you go back one, there you go. That is the rear of the barn. Again, that same, the glass on the front is the same as the glass on the back. There's a little deck, but it's really not seen from the street at all. In fact, I don't think you'll ever see the back of the barn, honestly, from the street. I've tried pretty hard, but it's pretty tough. We are doing a little dormer out the back for a stairway and potential bathroom in the future. I did talk to Mike Clancy again about not only the doors, but this new square footage requirement. Garages do not count. Our second floor is about 390 square feet, finished at 7 feet high. And the mudroom is about 92 square feet. So we don't get into that. And then he did tell me that, which was good to hear, is that any historic home in town, Andrew, you probably know this already, but is that this whole 1,000 square feet that you add on, you have to bring the whole house up to code. But if it is on the inventory, you have an exception. So that's good for all of us to know that.
Just a point of clarification on there is,
Yes.
it's not a immediate blanket. There's still, I just want people listening or people that may watch this later think that it's an automatic exemption. There's still a barrier, and it's not immediately granted. So there's nuances to that.
And my understanding is they're going to change that 1,000 to 2,500 square feet. So I think that's in the works too. But if that is possible, it's certainly a good thing for all of us that, historic homes, we don't want people having to go in and gut a whole house just because you're adding some square footage onto the house. We have sections. I mean, it's just a little knee wall, but I think the elevations probably speak to more that you really from the front of the house. If you go back to right there, that the whole barn is really condensed between the house, so you really don't. I mean, it sits back more than 70 feet from the front of the house, so it's about 85 feet to the face of the barn from the face of the house. So it really does sit back quite far.
Anything else you want to share, Sally, or Halversons, or should we?
Halversons, do they have, or Sean? Are the Halversons still on?
We are.
Okay, there you are.
Hi. No, just obviously a garage addition would be a lovely addition for our family. And yeah, that's it. Thank you, Sally and Sean, for your work on this.
All right. I'm going to start with committee members that were able to meet on site. So I know, Josh, you were there. Do you want to provide any feedback, or do you have any questions?
I don't have any questions that weren't answered on site. I personally think it's a thoughtful addition, preserving the vista of the old schoolhouse, stepping it back somewhat from what's there from the existing house, and I think it works well. I think I would I like the design.
Oh, thank you. Good.
Eric, you were able to join us. Do you have any thoughts?
I have more record keeping questions. Is the submittal for all of the landscape and the addition? Just to clarify, I don't think in my package was the actual application, so I just have the drawing set. Just want to understand what we're reviewing. And the follow up on that, like for the landscape, there's like 3 photos of some reference materials, but I think there's some questions. We have a wall there, which I know there's some existing wall. Just understand, is there a new wall? What's the wall built out of? Is it fieldstone? I feel like there's a lot of
Yeah, I could answer that, Eric, if you'd like from me. If Dan, if you want me to answer a question on that directly on the landscape treatment.
Yeah, I mean, Eric, is that we can kind of go back and forth and go through your record keeping. That's fine. I have no problem with that. So landscaping questions would be good to answer.
Yeah, I guess for Sean, before you start too, and then just for the house as well. Thank you, Sally, for walking through it. You mentioned a lot like matching the existing just for record keeping. I don't think the drawings call that out anywhere. Like I don't think it says match existing. And the drawings are beautiful drawings, but they're not detailed to a point of us understanding maybe what like the header is over the garage. And
that's on the sections. It's on the sections that all the sizes are. Oh, you mean headers over the garage? Yes.
Right. And just the detail of the glass and connection, what's happening there, the railing, what's that? Is it just, what's the railing size, spacing? Assuming it's wood.
Yes.
The shutters, are they to the I think that a lot of that's just not called out for our own reference. So if we are approving it.
Yeah, we had written it on the application that all materials, roof, siding, trim, et cetera, will match the existing, but
Okay.
yeah, we certainly could add more detail, more notes.
No, I think honestly, I think that probably covers it for like the specific details, and then the new things like what the garage door is. I don't
Yeah.
know if that's something we want to follow up with. So it's more like, I guess, Dan, what you think is what we need to sort of button it up once we.
Yeah, there's I had a similar thought, Eric. With just, usually we like to see a cut sheet for the windows and the cut sheet for the doors, and those are things that I think are important. Andrew, correct me if I'm wrong, if we're going to describe them and they've been talked about at this meeting, if we get to the point of a motion tonight, we could always have, if we're saying, doors are to be X, Y, and Z, those can be submitted to you later as
Yes.
part of a record package.
Yes,
Yeah, okay. So I think we can describe those things and ask for those to be followed up, and then if Andrea has pause or hesitation, they'd have to come back to us.
Sure.
if you can just, I've got obviously the application up, and as Sally said, it does say, stipulates that all materials will match existing, and
No, but it's a good point by Eric.
yeah,
There's
absolutely, I'm just saying it's there.
Yeah.
We're more than happy to, give you window cuts, door cuts, railing information, garage door,
Okay.
manufacturer. So yeah, we can certainly put a packet together and send that to you.
Yeah, it's certainly record keeping. I do want to reiterate, Josh, I think there's a really thoughtful addition, the way it's set back. The massing to me is large, but it's in the back of the home, pretty far set from the street, and you leaving that view open, I appreciate. So I do appreciate the design and everything. This is more to sort of, we have everything on record, so going forward, if there's anything that comes up.
Fine.
Sean, were there or Eric, were there any specific things on the landscape plan?
I guess just because I understand sort of that stone wall, I know there's some existing there, if it's staying, if it's being modified, that would be useful.
Yeah, so I'll reference that if I can, Eric. I'll reply to that pretty quickly here. That terrace that we were rebuilding on the side isn't really a part of this, because you've already approved that. It just hasn't been built yet. That's gonna be the next thing to get built prior to the addition. So all of that that's sitting at the terrace on the side where you see the furniture located, that's already been approved with that low wall there. What I think we're still doing on this is kind of the walkway out of bluestone, which we showed images of that to the side, as well as the split face granite edging and banding on the driveway, called the auto court, which we're illustrating in the other picture between the cobbles that we're using for the wheel runs and the split face granite. We showed some pictures of that there. It was identified in the notes, or just the labels. So those are the materials to that side. You'll see the wall itself would still be the fieldstone wall, similar to what you see in front of you there on the one picture, on the stepping stone picture, but they've got some fieldstone already on site by the terrace, the brick terrace, so we'll match that. And it's New England fieldstone, pretty much your standard New England fieldstone. That won't be very visible though, even from the street right of way. Very possibly can see the very top of it, but I'm not so sure you can see that. And then you see the treads with bluestone on the steps, which you won't really see that are at that retaining wall. And that wall's only about 2 feet tall. So it's a pretty low wall on that land. So materials, we're also showing the granite slabs, split face as an apron going into 2 of the doors, the cobbles or the wheel runs going into the shed or lean-to portion of the carriage house.
All right, thanks for that clarification, Sean. Eric, does that answer your questions? Do you have any other comments?
Yeah, that's really helpful to understand the scope that we're reviewing now. So just making sure everyone's aware of that. That terrace off of the house, we're not commenting on.
Great.
It's gonna be the same brick too. That's the same brick, and we're adding from brick to the back.
Great. Catherine, you were, I think, the last person other than me that was on site with us as a group. I know Carol got to it also. So Catherine, do you have any comments?
Yeah, I have a few comments and concerns. Should I address them on landscape, or do we want to do the house first?
Doesn't matter. If you want to just get them all out there and then we'll circle back.
Okay, so I think the house is about 70 feet, and this addition is an additional 50 feet, and that seems a lot.
Well, it's 38, it's 10 feet for the link. And then the garage is 28 feet, and then the shed is 12.
So doesn't that add up to, what does that add up to?
50.
Right, 50, but it's broken up into sections, I guess, yeah.
So I'm just, the original home is about 70, and then we're getting an additional 50 out the back.
Yeah.
And then the door on the second story of the glassy box going into the upper level, I do have some concerns that might be visible from the street, because that roof peak is really high on the garage. It's as high as the original building. And I'm wondering if that can be reduced. It just seems like the massing and the big slab of the roof on the garage is a bit much. I mean, it's substantial. And then I have concerns about, there's going to be quite a big grade change, I think, where the auto court is going. I think, Sean, you said it was 3 feet. So that really changes the perspective of the barn, the little schoolhouse, as you're looking down that slope. You're looking down the driveway, and then there's a beautiful grassy slope there going up to the schoolhouse, and that really is going to change that quite a bit. In addition, the retaining wall to the left of the bike shed also juts out in front of the schoolhouse by a little bit. From that angle, I think we'll see it quite a bit. The right side, it comes out with shrubbery, and so I don't know, the grade change is of concern as well. 3 feet is a lot, and I think that's all I have to say.
Carol,
Yeah.
I know you were able to make it out there after the fact.
Besides that, I was very good friends with the former owner, so I know the house really, really well. And Sally put on a beautiful kitchen years ago, I remember, and it's a wonderful home. I always get concerned when I see that so much of the surface of the lot will be impervious to, rain getting through. And it's something that the town has talked about for a very long time.
Carol, we can't comment on that.
What?
From an impervious site drainage, that's kind of outside our jurisdiction, but if you have concerns on that for aesthetic reasons, it's not a historic thing. That is a planning.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Okay, never mind.
But if you have aesthetic concerns or something like that, that's different.
Well, I share with Catherine, the barn that's in the backyard, I can't remember the date. I think it's early 1700s, used to be the schoolhouse for probably, others can tell you this, but over by Dependable Cleaners back in that area, and it was moved here and placed, and it's really incredibly old and wonderful inside with original chalkboards and stuff on the interior. Was there any concern thought about using that for storage of bikes and so forth instead of putting the shed on, which I agree with Catherine about that. I sort of sticks out, and the height of the door being different from the other two garage doors seems odd.
I think we were just trying to diminish it, to make it seem smaller, because it's just a link, or a little lean-to. I don't think you'll ever see it because it's so far back and it sits back from the face of the barn.
That's true. They lost that big copper beech, didn't they?
Yes. Yeah.
That was like the biggest tree in town, and they had to take it down. It's too bad.
So sad.
In fact, I think one of your pictures in your presentation has a
Yeah.
like halfway,
Still there, yeah.
half the tree down and the other half, yeah.
Or the limbs are chopped off, which is kind of sad, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I don't have any real concerns other than to make sure we really do see the barn in the back. That's a priceless feature in town, and I do get concerned when I feel like we're overdeveloping a small lot. But the lot goes back. How far back does it go behind the barn?
Not too far, but you know, there's a big pool back to the right of the barn, you know, so there's a lot of, like where you know, a lot of that grassy space is all going to be saved, even with the parking court, because right now, as Sean said, there's a large part of asphalt. So really the asphalt is just coming up and being replaced with something that looks a bit nicer. And then that grassy slope is, you know, is really gonna, pretty much that grass will stay. So
it does, yeah.
Property in front of the schoolhouse still.
That is one, it's just one thing I'd wanted to address before we lose it. I don't have to speak now, but I was, if it's appropriate to, I know Catherine had a comment about losing the grass, and we really are not. The driveway goes to that point. We're actually cutting down on the asphalt that's on there. We're going to add crushed stone where they've got native stone, where they've got a kind of an area of parking and asphalt there. So we're actually going to be cutting down on asphalt. We're still going to use some asphalt, certainly for the parking court, because that's great recreation space. How it's being used now, there's a basketball hoop there now. And so with the granite accents, we feel pretty good about that. In terms of grade, we're not going to be losing all that lawn and that's going up to the barn, or we'll call it the schoolhouse. It's up to the schoolhouse, and that will remain. And we're not really, we talked about raising the grade in the auto court by about 18 inches and some change, somewhere 18 to 2 feet, but that's because the thing's sitting kind of in a bowl, and we're still going to be sitting down 3 feet below the finished floor of the barn. So we're still 3 feet below. We're still going to have the grass. We're still going to have the slope. Also, the retaining wall, top of the retaining wall is also 3 feet, which you're really not going to see it. So we're not going to screen anything. In fact, the paramount probably manifesto of when we were working on this piece was to leave the view to the schoolhouse open. I think somebody even asked me, I think Catherine, you may even ask me, hey, do you ever think about putting the garage right here where the auto court is? And it was like, of course we did not. But we thought about it for 5 seconds when we realized that was when it was blocking, it was going to block the schoolhouse. So of course we did not do that. So I don't think we're losing the lawn. I don't think the retaining wall is visible, and it's going to be 3 feet. The top it's 3 feet below the finished floor of the schoolhouse. So just to address those comments.
Good. And I assume people have talked to the neighbors on either side?
I know that Tara Coveney we have, and Michael Montero, I've done both houses on both sides. I hope they would be happy with what we were doing, but I'm sure that the Halversons will, you know, take the time to show both neighbors. Yes.
Before the trucks show up and the
Before
hammer.
the trucks show up.
The digging begins. Yeah.
Any other feedback, Carol?
Well, I was concerned about the little railing going across the breezeway. Does that connect anything? Is there a way to get out there?
Yes, yeah. Actually, there's a door already from in the existing house. There's a door to a deck, and so that door remains, and the mudroom door remains, and then there'll be a door to the garage or barn, second floor, because it's all on the same level. It's very similar to the Ashers. I mean,
yes, that's what made me think of it. Yeah.
You know, that's lovely. I think, you know, the addition there, and you know, it's just a very simple little railing that connects both the barn and the house.
Okay, and I see on the second floor of the barn, your garage, you're going to put a bathroom. Is that thought to be living space up there? Will it?
I think it's play space, most likely.
I don't know what the next family's going to do, you know.
I'm sure they'll figure out what they want to do with it, but I think maybe exercise or something, you know. So.
Anything else?
Nope.
Great. Justin.
I think it is a very appropriate looking design for the neighborhood. while I share some of my fellow commissioners' hesitation over massing in general in projects in the town, I think in this design, that is the impact of the massing to the streetscape is quite muted. I do appreciate the maintenance of the view to the schoolhouse. So I think my judgment is an appropriate proposal.
Did I miss anybody? Josh? I think I got everybody. I do.
Comment, sorry, can I just round back again?
Yep, sure.
So it's hard to see because we don't have as-built drawings here.
Yes,
But
you do. They're AB 1.1.
and they're not, well, they're not side by side, so it's a little bit hard to see. But if you look at P11 in the rear elevation, you can see there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 stairs going up to that little porch.
Right.
And when you look at the side elevation, the new side elevation,
Yes.
it's
We're
all level. It's
Yes, we're raising the grade.
it's 4.5 feet that you're raising it. It seems to me about to get it all on one level. It's a massive raising.
No, that's inaccurate. That's not true. It's
How is
you have to
it?
step.
A riser like 9 inches?
No, there are 3 risers coming out of the we come one, say you're in the entry, call it glassy mudroom or whatever it is. You step out 3 risers, then you step 1 into the house. So that's 4 risers instead of the 6 or 7 that there are now in the house, which equates to three steps of difference, which equates to, could be 18 inches, could be 20 inches, could be 21 inches that we're coming up in the auto court area, which sits in a bowl essentially. So if you count those risers versus whatever the 6, if there's 6 risers now, it's what it is on the picture.
Yeah.
So it's not coming up 4.5 feet. Inaccurate.
Well, the grade of the soil is coming up about 3 feet, you said.
It's not.
I thought you said
I
that.
said 18 inches to 24 inches, could be about 20 inches. We're going to be pitching away from certainly the garage carriage house doors. We're pitching that away. We feel like it's a perfect example of how to grade a project when it's sitting in a bowl like that. It's always, that slope has been a problem. There's a problem for the shafters. There's actually a problem for the Monteros, the Blairs ahead of them, where the property line hits, and it's a very steep slope coming off of that property line that is the Monteros.
The only comment I have is I echo most of the committee members with I walked this a lot in terms of did it make sense to move the garage around at all. And I think in and out it really makes a lot of sense where it's at. And I guess the only question I have for Sally, if you're shrinking that door down, I mean, it's not a huge number, but do you shrink down that lean-to bay a little bit, a couple feet, or
You
make
could.
it oddly proportion or less useful?
10 or 11 feet, versus the 12 feet, I think you're right, in proportion, we might squeeze it down a little bit.
Yeah, I was just thinking, instead of taking it all from the door, that maybe shrink the door down and then shrink just a foot, just think the proportion will
Yeah,
play a little better.
yeah.
And then Sean, do has some pause, like, your view corridor. If you, Andrew, can you go to SP11? Your view corridor on that barn, your great view is standing at the top of the page, right? Looking down that driveway, and you're looking across the barn.
Yes.
And Catherine's point is right, that you see this nice, like, it was built up, right? The school was put up on a mound, and it was, for obvious reasons. The same reason why you're talking about grading the garage to, you know, bring it up out of a bowl. Same thing, right? You stick it up high, it's prominent. I have a little pause with the way that that retaining wall comes back and turns up in the page, and that's forcing that grading, and you're kind of losing that natural grassy knoll feel, because that's your view corridor, right? You're looking across that on an angle. Is it possible to add a couple more steps and slide that retaining wall down so you catch less of that angle?
If you, are you saying to just,
That right there. Is it possible to bring that down? Because I know what you're trying to do, right? You're trying to,
yeah.
trying to have a step down
Oh,
to that.
to slide that down along that facade, down that shed facade, is that what
Is there
you're
any
saying?
way to cheat that and kind of like keep that? Because those lines that come off of it are 97, 98, right? Up to the
Yeah.
hill.
Yep.
And I do agree with Catherine that, like, you know, that natural grassy knoll is nice and it's pristine, and, you know, that barn's incredible. And you guys have gone so far to preserve that view corridor that I feel like the last mile is figuring out that little bit right there. And
Yeah, I mean, we could pull the end of that retaining wall back down closer to where it turns the corner right now. We could
yeah, I
pull-
just wonder if you go through, like, you know, pulling it down, shortening it, flipping the L. I feel like you can play around with that a little bit more, and I understand the trade-offs with it. You know, that creates, but I do think even if it's, you know, cutting it in half, I think is, you know, gets you close to that corner, because right now that grade's coming from the corner of the barn across, and you're kind of really impacting what's there. So that's my biggest feedback.
Dan, what a wonderful drawing reader you are.
Yeah, I noticed that, yeah.
Yeah.
We could pull that back and give that just to pull the end of the wall back. Again, remember, it's also still going to be at a grade that is would be sitting at grade, right? So you will not necessarily recognize it from a distance, other than you'll see the top of the stone wall. And whether or not they put 2 shrubs there, 1 shrub or no shrubs, it will still be, grade will have to be still somewhat similar as it comes down. Whether or not you would see the cap, so that part of the wall will be flush.
Yeah, so I think you just play, if you can play with that a little more, so like that big sharp elevation point at 98 that comes across and dies back, if you can soften that and try to get it close to that 97 line,
right?
That way that's Catherine, that's, I think you're in agreement with me, that's like one of our big, that's what you were trying to refer to, and keep that natural.
Yeah, and also I still think the grade is bringing it up. That's an enormous amount to bring the whole thing up. I wonder if you could cheat it and split the difference or something. It changes the perspective on the barn. The cars are going to be higher on the lot, so you won't see as much of the grass. Everything kind of changes even if it's 2 feet. It's a big difference. And you know, you've got a whole garage is on the same level basically as the mud area. I think maybe it could be
We're
compromised.
4 steps up into the
And you have steps down. You have steps down to the garage from that area also.
Just 2, right?
3 risers coming. 3 risers coming from the connector to the garage. Is that correct, Sally?
Yes.
3 risers from the inside of the garage going up into the connector.
Correct.
And then, so that's where, why is why do you need, so you're making up the 6 steps, that the 3 are going into from grade onto the connector, and then the other 3 going down into the garage.
And so we're losing, well, where we were showing our grades is that's what we're talking about, what you don't love, but coming up, I know. We were losing those steps by bringing that grade up. Well, we weren't losing 4.5 feet and that sort of language you were talking about before. We're losing 2 risers coming up there. So we can try to do.
So the risers the way it's currently shown in the drawing, you're showing risers, but they currently are not risers in this current drawing that Sally has.
Oh, no, well, I'll have to see what that elevation looks like. I believe she showed those in elevation, from both sides and showed them accurate. I'd have to double check, but it's 3 steps up into it.
Yeah, 4 steps, so.
4 total to get into the finished floor.
3 to the mudroom link and then, you know.
Looks like you're showing 3 from what I can see from here. It's just a little smallish, but, yeah. I mean, the garage is gonna be down a touch and finished floor from the, yeah, you're showing it there.
There's 1 step from the mudroom into the house.
Up into the house, correct, yeah.
Okay, and then the height difference between the top of the garage and the top of the house is, what is it currently? And
Talking about the roof line?
yeah, the roof line on the garage, and is it even with the house? It's hard to tell from the drawing.
Slightly less than a foot difference. It's a 40-degree pitch.
And can you get what you need inside with a lower ridge?
I mean, we could reduce it by, you know, a little bit. If you look at the end elevation there, that Andrew has up, you know, we can try to lower it a little bit, maybe from a 40 to a 37-degree pitch.
Just feels like the massing is overshadowing the house, and this is going to jut out a lot from the road. You'll see it if you stand on the sidewalk.
Yeah, it's always hard though, because you're looking down to it. So, you know, in perspective, it's going to look lower just because it's back. But
you'll follow the existing roof line of the home, and if you go to Google Maps, you can probably check it out. But if you follow the existing roof line of the home and you just keep going, that's what we're saying. So I just
So I'm gonna keep us going here because we're 20 minutes behind now. So are there any citizens that are on that want to provide commentary? Okay, so I don't know. There's definitely been a few things for feedback. A couple on the garage. I think some things, minor things to explore. Some additional things given the packet. I think there's enough to warrant continuance, just to clean these few things up for Sean to come back, unless we want to break the package up. I'd rather not. I'd like keeping this all as one approval if possible. Sally or the Halversons, are you guys willing to just kind of reiterate? And I'll give you a summary at the end, Sally. Are you willing to come back at our next meeting in October?
I'll let my clients talk. Are they there still?
They still are.
Yeah,
we are. Yes. Yes, whatever. I mean, whatever is necessary, I think.
I just want it to be, it starts to get really muddy if we break things off and Sean comes back and presents something and it, you know, his modifications might impact something, and there's been a few feedback pieces so I if you're willing to work with us, it'd be great if you could come back. And Sally, what I see is you know, just kind of a minor exploration on modifying the lean-to, given what you learned from the town, including some of the cut sheets and things like that, and a little bit more call out on the items that aren't to match existing that are kind of new for the addition. And Sean, I think your biggest homework is or feedback is kind of exploring grades and you know, on that backside with the view corridor. I think those are the biggest things that if you guys could make some small revisions, and I think at the next meeting, if we can just focus on those things, and I don't think we have to regurgitate the whole set of plans and try to keep it a little bit quicker agenda item.
Dan, I would also add, I agree with Catherine on the roof line of the height of.
Oh yeah, sorry, and the roof, and exploring if you can drop that ridge line down a little bit. Thank you.
Dan, what was Catherine concerned about the placement of the door on the second floor of the garage as well? Was she?
I wasn't sure if we could see it from the street, but it's hard to tell without, you know, perspective renderings. Just because it's.
And would it be true to say if it were visible, you'd like to minimize that visibility?
I think it would look, it would be a big deal if you could see it.
possible to move it back under the ridge line, in the direction of the ridge line more?
Well, it's actually drawn in the section, on, A, let's see, A 3.1. You can see where the mudroom is cut through.
Yeah, so I think the
You can see
feedback
where
would be,
the
can you
door and
mirror?
the window.
yeah. Can that be mirrored, I guess, would be the feedback, but something for you to look at.
How do you mean mirrored? I'm sorry.
Door on the
Oh,
right.
it's what it
window.
looked like, yeah.
Oh, no, because the stair, I can't get through to
Gotcha.
what side of the house to the barn. The stair is there.
Is it a negative if it's, is it considered negative to see a door on the side of?
No.
I'm only asked that because I don't think it's a negative. It's a piece of
Well,
art.
it's something, you know, those are the items, you know, something for Sally to explore if that's where it's got to be, you know, she can certainly come back at the next meeting.
It's a door and a window, right?
Yes,
Door on
yeah.
the window. Yep.
Mhm. Yeah.
So, all right, so hard to summarize 5 different viewpoints, but hopefully that was helpful for you, Sally and Sean.
Yeah, no, I think I have. I think I know what I have to do.
Great. Halversons, thank you for being flexible and coming back at the next meeting. We really appreciate it. And that's assuming Sally and Sean, that works for you guys.
Yes, yeah, yeah.
All right, thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We'll slide to the next agenda item 3. No, I'm sorry. The Wiveleys are back, 107 Main Street. Install a cedar fence around a pool to be located in the rear of the property. Hi, Laura.
Hi everyone, how are you?
Hi, Laura.
Hi.
Do you want us to share the plan that you have?
Yeah, sure, that would be fantastic. Thank you.
Andrea, do you have that available?
Actually, I think,
Do I have it? Did you email it to me?
yeah, you have it. Let me look.
Oh, I don't have it. I only have 339 Main.
Okay, hold on.
I can probably share my screen if that's easier.
Yeah, if you have it. Yep.
Just have to figure out how to do it. Let me just make sure I'm. Okay.
Perfect. Thank you.
Oh, look at you. You're just brilliant.
I haven't done this for
I
a
just
while.
had one question right off the bat. If you could just explain it, is I saw the 2 different lines, one farther back on the plan and one closer forward. Just make sure you touch on that, what the differences are.
Oh, yeah, I don't think that should be any different actually.
Okay.
So yeah, so I'm just here today to ask for approval for a fence around a pool enclosure that we are planning to do potentially later this year. It's basically the only things I think you'll see from the street is the section to the northwest of the house as you're looking up at the house from Main Street to the right-hand side. It's still set pretty far back, but other than that, it kind of runs back towards the house and then it's behind the structure. So I really think it's those pieces there that you will see at the front behind the porch. I chatted with Andrew a bit about style of fence that you guys might like to see because we're flexible, but I think in my opinion, a nice cedar fence that's painted would go well with the house. So I have on the next slide a picture of what we're proposing to put. It's just a 6-foot solid fence with a picket style at the top. And it would be painted a kind of charcoal gray color.
Okay, so just to clarify then, that even though they're called out as different fences, it's the photos you have on the next page are all that it's going to be that continuous all the way around.
Yeah, maybe there'd be some. Yeah, I can't imagine we would do anything different than that. I was wondering if the landscapers were thinking that some wouldn't have the picket on the top, that some would be solid. But yeah,
okay.
I don't know why we would do that. We'd probably just keep it consistent all the way around.
And so the intent on the image that's on the screen now and on my paper copy, there's a piece of the fence that is a little more bold. I'm trying to understand.
Right here.
Yeah, let me go to that. Hang on.
And it's more is it meant to indicate some difference in the fence as
Yeah, called out as two different One is called out as wood picket pool fence and one is vertical board picket fence.
Oh,
Yeah, that's what I was wondering too, but
I think it's just a mistake in the labeling, to be honest. I hadn't
Okay.
realized the
That's
two different labels, but I'm trying to share that other screen. Maybe I stop.
we
and
see
then
the pictures now.
okay.
Oh,
Do
you
you-
just, yeah, we see the pictures.
We
Yeah.
see them.
We see the fence
Okay, for some
images.
reason I don't, but yeah, so I can't see it. Let me pull it up on my screen. Sorry. I can only see the last one. Yeah, so this was just an example of what it would look like. The one on the left is just another example, but number 2 is what we're planning on doing.
Good.
The one on the left is just an image that I found that was similar, but the style of the fence and the gate and everything would be number 2.
Number 2.
And then is this the intended color that you're going for?
It is,
Okay.
but I'm flexible on that if you don't think that's in keeping with anything else. I just wanted it to be silent compared to the house.
What was, if one of Andrea or one of the commissioners recalls, there was a color that was sort of
Gray or something, yeah.
There's a charcoal gray, which is what this is which this is mimicking, that we did at 16 Middle Street.
I thought that was a little more taupe than this.
They had 3 different versions of a gray color. That was Sean, actually. He left too early. And they kind of had, in that color family, they had like 3 different versions, and we said we were comfortable with all 3 and let them go. And so I think for the purposes of tonight, if the commissioners aren't opposed, I'm comfortable with Andrea working with Laura to finalize the color, if everybody's okay with that.
I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sean, are you
think-
still here?
No, he left.
Okay. Darn.
Okay, so Laura, that's a great summary, helpful understanding which of these pictures. Justin, you're on the screen, so I'll let you chime in first, and then Carol, I see you're raising your hand, so I'll get to you next.
Okay, I think this is a very reasonable proposal, and I expect that Andrea will hold the commission's views accurately as the certificate may proceed.
Okay, Carol, I know you were waving your finger, so.
Hi, I'm just sort of questioning, I know your children are young, the way this is set on the lot, you come all the way over to that old existing barn that we can't figure out what it is, and then across to the new proposed barn, which means kids that are in there can run into the garage and out the garage doors. Have you thought about whether you need a little more security than that?
Explain, I'm sorry, I'm a little lost there. Between the attached garage and the existing structure?
Yeah, no, that's all covered, but sort of short. So you go, say you're standing in the house and you go out the little breezeway area into your proposed garage with the 2 cars in it.
Yep.
And there's a door leading out the left side of that.
Yep.
And that puts you in the pool fencing area. Do you want the kids to be able to go in through like that?
I mean, it would have I think any enclosure on the pool would have a safety pool lock that's high up at 6 feet. I think they have to have that per code.
Okay, and then if you want to drive your car up your driveway and past your proposed garage and back sort of between that and the old existing garage, did you want to drive back and the rest of your land back there?
No, I didn't really want to be able to cross through there as you can now. I'd like to block it off actually and make it more private back there.
Okay, because you could end that section of the fence up at the back left corner of your proposed garage, which would cut off the doorway.
Right.
None of
Right.
it.
Yeah, no, I mean, obviously that's a long out of view from the street and we can think through those details, but the intention is to block off like the cut through.
Yeah.
So
Catherine, do you have any commentary?
I do not.
Eric,
No, fine.
Josh,
I'm good with it.
did I miss anybody?
I'll make a motion.
I'm happy to take a motion.
I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 107 Main Street located in Hingham Bachelor's Row, Pear Tree Hill Historic District for plans and photos dated 8 September 2023. Work to include vertical, and let's see, what is the most accurate description of the fence style? Vertical board picket fence is what I see on the images.
Not picket.
To be painted a color to be agreed by Historic District Commission's administrator. And that is my motion.
Is there a second?
Second.
Catherine, how do you vote? Oh, I'm sorry, any discussion? Great. Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Aye for me. So thank you, Laura. Not the last that we've seen of you, I'm guessing. So thanks for coming.
guessing not. Thank you very much, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Oh, thanks,
you.
Laura. Good night.
Thank you.
Okay. Next on our agenda is 3 West Street, located Lincoln Historic District, to replace existing windows. So I believe we have the Fitzgeralds with us, right?
Yep.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello.
So most of us made it to a site visit out here to look at it. I'm just going to summarize this. So the building or the existing windows are somewhere late 80s, early 90s, single pane, non-original windows to this building.
Really?
That's what's existing. Anybody that's on the site visit, correct me if I'm wrong.
Nope.
No.
I think the windows are more recent than that. I think they probably date from the 2014.
I thought we said 90s on there. Maybe I'm mistaken. Maybe I'm looking at something else. Sorry.
I thought they were part of a 90s application. Remember the house was redone? I think Andrea maybe gave us that scoop at the site visit. Or we were guesstimating maybe.
Well, either way, there. Andrew,
Nevertheless.
Andrew, do you know the approximate?
It was in the 2000s that it was.
Okay, early 2000s. So they're non-original windows for sure, wood single pane windows, and the request is to replace all 25 existing windows, and the application doesn't have a specific window. I think they were looking for guidance from the committee for that. So it's a little bit different of a process. I have, as you see, we had our pre-draft or our draft motions that we can look at, but I guess I'd like to kind of attack this part in two steps. One, just asking commission members, is there any pause or hesitation in allowing the windows to be replaced? Step one. Catherine, Carol, Eric, Josh, Justin. Okay.
No, and I do note that this is a maintenance application. Is that correct? I see a
yeah,
checkbox,
the
a
windows are-
certificate of non-applicability is what is on the table.
Yeah, so I
That's-
was gonna get to that. We're gonna have to change that, correct? It's a certificate
Yes,
of
I'll just
appropriateness.
change it.
Yeah, so Andrew can change that. Thank you, Justin. So what I'd like to propose, because I believe the Fitzgeralds are open to our suggestions, rather than give manufacturers and a long list. What I'd like to do is propose, and if everybody's in agreement with it, that they stick with wood windows, simulated or true divided light windows, non-clad wood windows. And the existing are 6/6. To maintain that 6/6, we pulled the inventory card. That's what was there in the 80s. That photo was taken in 88, and that was the existing style back then. And so in doing some reading about this building, I think the 6/6 is probably what was there originally at one point. It makes sense. There's a lot of federal style dental detailing. 6/6 would have been common back then. So I think time period is appropriate. So that's the direction I'd like to take a motion, and then Andrea can follow up with the applicants on specific windows. She can provide a list of other windows that meet those criteria that we have approved in the past. If the Fitzgeralds want to come back with another window manufacturer or another style that we haven't reviewed or Andrea's not comfortable with, they could come back to our committee at that point and share with it. But if it's a window that we previously approved and Andrea can review that submittal, I'd like to go that way. So I'm going to open it up generally to the committee now for any feedback, questions, or comments. So
I'll jump in. That sounds like a very agreeable way forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Catherine?
You're muted, Catherine.
Sounds good to me.
Okay. Eric? Josh?
Yeah, the only thing I would add is we usually recommend the 5/8 Muntin, so just get ahead of that.
Oh,
Versus
good
like
call.
the 3/4.
Good one.
Great. So with that, are there any?
So the only comment I would add, I
sorry,
would echo Eric, what's there now is appropriate, even though it's a replacement window. You know, a 5/8 wood window is what we're looking for. And so, you know, I'd be interested in knowing why you're wanting to replace the windows, if you know what your reasoning is, because I think that we would want to come back with something fairly similar.
Yeah, so the windows are just in pretty tough shape. They're very drafty during the winter, and we also had some wet spots along the back of our house, on the inside on the ceiling. And we had a contractor come by, and he came and took a look at a few of the windows, and he thought that because of how the windows were installed or whatever it may be, they were leaking water down. And he said it wasn't a huge deal. He's like, it's not something that immediately needs to be fixed, but he was like, in the pretty near future, you're probably going to want to get these windows replaced to avoid this, not leaking, but draining issue, and whatever you may call it. Would you like to add anything to that?
No, in some certain areas, some of the window sill itself is rotted more than others. So that's it.
Any other comments or questions from commission members?
I would just add, Mr. Chairman, that if the since the sills may have to be replaced, that they're replaced in kind in terms of materials and dimensions.
Great. Any citizens? I don't think we have any on. So Eric, seems you had a slight tweak to the motion. You want to make a motion?
I'll take that as I'll make a motion. Sure. Let's see. I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 3 West Street located in the Hingham Lincoln Phase 2 Historic District. Work to include the replacement of all 25 of the existing non-original windows with new simulated or true divided light 6/6 wood windows with insulated glass, Muntins 5/8 of an inch max, with final review from the Historic District Commission administrator.
And cut sheets to be collected.
May I just ask one question? Oh, go ahead, finish the vote.
Yeah, could we just add the sills if needed to be replaced?
Yes, if any sills or trim work has to be replaced in kind with match existing.
Is there a second?
Second.
Discussion? Catherine, how do you vote?
Aye.
Carol?
Aye.
Eric?
Aye.
Justin?
Aye.
It's aye for me. So Andrea can certainly work with you and help if you guys have questions. She's a great resource. And then, like we said, if for some reason you end up with a installer and a manufacturer that is outside of the norm, we just ask you come back if it's a window that we haven't reviewed before.
I just
Okay,
want to make
thank
one
you.
comment. I don't know, I know these are all, I'm not sure how familiar you are with Windows, but the whole true divided light, simulated divided light, that's probably not something you're all that familiar with. Is that correct?
That's
Okay,
correct.
then we'll work on that.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Good night.
And last but not least, Mr. Lynch for 224 South Street for a plethora of work on the project.
Good evening.
Carson, is Chuck with you?
Chuck is not with me tonight.
Okay.
I hope he did a good job presenting in person.
Yes.
Yeah, I think so. So I think most of us got to see this. Do you have the packet that was provided to us to share, or do you need Andrea to share? I think it might be helpful to just run through that and kind of just kind of summarize the work and the scope and stuff like that.
Absolutely. I do. Andrea, are you ready to share, or should I share screen?
No, you go ahead.
Okay, very good. Let me scroll to the top and share. All right. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. Let me maximize this. So I'll just start by saying that this is a bit of a dream of mine to be able to present tonight with this request. My family rented this property for 44 years on a handshake starting in '79. And that doesn't happen much. And there is much deferred maintenance that that I now get to attend to. And that's the purpose of this. Okay, so big picture, the siding and the windows all need help. And my motivation is to bring it to historically accurate, period, precise condition. I love this house and I want it to be what it always was, if that makes sense. I have a total count of 17 windows. We are going to fix absolutely every window that we can. We are going to repair what we can. And we are going to replace what needs to be replaced. And so I don't know the best way to sort of go about this in order, but obviously
if you want to go through the photos with summarizing the scope, the cut sheets are kind of helpful, but I think the other stuff's more important. Yeah, starting here and kind of walk us around.
Brilliant. Okay, so what we have first and foremost is two different roof types. We have cedar on the front and asphalt in the back. So I would like to replace the entire roof with asphalt. The debate right now that I'm having is to whether or not to replace front and back or both sides now. I'll frame this by saying that for the next 5 to 6 years, the house will sit exactly as it is. My intention in 5 or 6 years is to do a modest addition off the back inside the fenced area. So I'm weighing cost benefit on materials expense now. In my shopping for roof contractors, it would appear that the most responsible thing to do is to entirely redo the roof now to all asphalt, given the flashing consideration around the chimney, versus marrying old and new roof at the chimney and leaving that flashing, possibly to question. I think what I'd like to do is just, have to revisit whatever addition goes on in the future and the loss of that new roofing material for the sake of doing it properly now, if that makes sense. Front gutter will be replaced. The front of the building will not be touched. It will be repaired. That's the original clapboard that you see. Those windows would be repaired. They are, for their age, incredible in their condition. So all 3 windows being original will be repaired. No change to the door, no change to the side lights of the door. The side, let's go to the, we'll go to the rear. So the rear is definitely where I'm considering phase 1, phase 2 financial considerations.
I'm going to pause you real quick because I just
Certainly.
want to get a clarifying point from Andrea. Is this view, is the rear, is that in our domain? Is it can you visibly see it from a public domain? I just wanted to clarify that point.
It's visible from the houses in the rear, but those I think are on a private way.
Okay.
That's correct.
So it's all a private way right back there, isn't it, Carson?
That's correct. It's technically a lane, but yes, it's the Gallagher's and Nancy Perry on Steve Lincoln's old property, Steve and Marjorie Lincoln's houses.
So I do want to hear about this, but I just want to stress that point for the committee.
Yes,
that
this is
does not come under our review, right? Andrea?
Correct. And thus you'll see, thank you. Thus you'll see the submission for, you'll see this basement door. That's, you know, I want that to be fiberglass. You know, this casement window will be saved and restored for later use. But this this kitchen window will be the location of a new half bath, and there'll be a matching casement vinyl put there. These windows, let's see, so what did I say for dining room? Pardon me. Okay, so the largest windows on the back will be repaired with sash kits. And the only non-wooden window in the rear will be the kitchen window here, which is going to be a bathroom, if that all makes sense.
Yep.
Okay.
One thing I just want to clarify, the storms go over any windows that you're repairing, and then any new windows are not getting storms, correct?
That is correct.
All right, thank you.
Yep. So should I spend more time in the rear of the house, or?
No, I think that's a good summary.
Okay, thank you. So we will go to the driveway side. I'm excited to remove the cedar shakes and replace with cedar clapboard, and that's the plan there. Original to the house. Once, you know what, I will share this photo because I think it'd be informative for you to see what exists under the shakes. Now, please hold.
And who's we seeing right now? Is that we seeing
Carson's.
Oh, this is my screen. Yep.
Yep.
This is the left side of the house.
Yeah, as you face it, right?
Yeah.
Yes, I'm sorry, I'm trying to show the
That's all right. An old picture.
an old picture.
While you're searching, I kind of missed those 2 little basement windows in the back are being replaced or not?
Yes, all windows throughout the home are being repaired or replaced.
But those are slated, they're rotted and slated to be replaced. The 2 little basement windows.
That is correct. Yep.
And on the side as well, these 2
Yes.
bottom, they're also.
Yep. I'll I'm sorry. I run a Zoom all day at work, and now I'm having trouble.
That's all right.
Resume share, play button. Thank you.
Is long. And so,
Um,
is it?
can you-
There we
could
go. Now I'm seeing some.
Could you repeat your question about the rear? I'm sorry.
Just that I was just checking on the status of all those 8/8 windows in the rear and the side, if they were all rotted. And and if potentially, you know, maybe the two in the back are in good shape and can be used on the side. I'm trying to preserve that. I'm thinking about the side aspect of this house. It's quite exposed to the sidewalk, and it'd be great if those were, you know, also salvageable, and you could maybe find two that would work on that side of that.
I believe that would be my goal as well. So we have 8/8s, and those are the ones you're talking about?
Yeah.
Right, and so you'd like to see them used on the driveway side?
Yeah, if there were 2 out of the 4 that could work for the driveway side, they're darling, historic, and there's a lot of exposure there. It's quite unique, so it would be.
Yes. So for sure, in terms of condition, the side windows, the side basement windows, the 8/8s are in far better condition than the 2 in the rear. That said, I will be saving all windows for full repair. The ones especially, so I think of it as laundry and dad's room. So yeah, these 2 are gone. You'll see the frame is just falling off. But the glass is worth saving. So I'd like to reset them. Matthews Brothers here in Maine does that kind of work, reletting, you know.
We should get that name.
Yep, they're outstanding. Yeah, Hingham Lumber actually works closely with Matthews. So it was between Matthews and Bosco. And I understand through our discussions between Chuck and Andrea that Bosco wooden windows are acceptable with storms. So that's currently what's in the plan.
Using the original glass, is that what you're saying?
No, so new sash kits all around, but saving all glass in the house for the sash kits for the windows that need new sash kits and are not being repaired in place. I will be taking the original material and rebuilding those windows for future.
I see.
Yep.
So if you want to pick back, yeah, something back up on the side elevation.
Absolutely. So side elevations. So as Chuck says, top right and middle right windows to be repaired only. So here and here. They're in great shape. They still slide up and down. They don't have weights. They have pins. And unless it's especially humid, they work just fine. So we're going to repair that trim, sand them, repaint them, etc. All others are going to be Bosco double hung replacement sash windows with storms, meaning, you know, the interior guts of the window will be removed and stored, and then new sash kits from Bosco installed, trim repaired. Any questions?
No, that's straightforward.
Okay. Like I said, this shake, I don't know where my picture is, but actually, you know, I do. I'm really eager for you to see this. I think it's really cool. Is this it? This is it. Okay, so this is the original siding.
Wow.
Chuck would put this at 18th century. So the big question here is, what is the age of this house? Because it informs my paint choices. I've been studiously working on California Paint's Historic Colors of America, the historic New England palette. Because my first choice would be a cream white, and then moving into grays. And those are the coordinating based on the age of the home, whatever that is. I've got 3 columns. I would choose essentially a white or a gray for the clapboard, because that's essentially what we have here is a white gray. But this is it. This is where this is where it all began. We're looking at it. I have not done this to the house. This is not how it looks from the street, but
yeah,
sometime in the 60s they put a porch on, as you saw, and so this is an existing exterior wall that we've stripped just to see what's what.
That's cool.
That is
planning to, when you say clapboard on that side, you're going to leave those and clean them up and paint them, or you're going to replace them to match it, knowing that there were clapboards there?
Replace to match, exactly, with that same 4-inch reveal, with the seams placed as they were.
Yep.
So yeah, because this is all lead, as I'm sure is obvious. And it's all it's all shot. And my first thought was to restore the existing wood, but it's all full of nails. We'd never get it watertight. There's no way. So we have to match that historically.
Can you
with
send
new
that photo
materials.
to Andrew to have on record? Because this is the comment that we've commentary we've had before with the
Certainly.
the butt joints and how they aligned back then.
Certainly. Happy to
That
do
would
it.
be great. Thank you.
All right,
Yep,
that's
I'll do
a
that right now.
architectural history gem.
Yes. Over to you.
Great.
It'll probably tell me that you're out of the office again, and
Yes, it will.
I hope you're
Which I
well.
will be until Monday.
Okay.
So back, yeah, taking us back around the building.
Thank you. Again, why are these controls mystifying to me?
Maybe click back to Zoom because that's because
Oh. That would make perfect sense, wouldn't it? No, I don't want a new share.
maybe just down that screen and the Zoom will be there maybe. My terminology, reduce.
How about we stop and start again? That would be super simple, right? And that is the presentation, which is which? This one here.
I think if you just click the X at the top and jump out of your email, I think it'll pop up.
X at the top. I'm
Like,
so sorry,
around
folks.
that we're
Right
seeing
at your cursor.
yeah, we're seeing your browser open. I think if you just close that tab you have open, it takes us back to the presentation.
Oh, okay. Right,
There you go.
Carson, it's part of my browser. Wow. All right. Thanks for your patience. So this also, just to note, this is a really weird old way to wire a house. There's two 100 amp services in tandem. One of these wires directly to the water heater for some reason. That was the way it was done. There's a disconnect behind there specifically for the water heater. That's been taken offline since. There's a modern water heater, gone right to the panel, bypassing the disconnect. So this will become a single globe when we go from 100 amp to 200 amp service. As part of the electrical upgrade. You'll see all the shake is rotted because there's ground contact. We're going to be adding a water table, and I believe one of you made a brilliant observation which hadn't even crossed my mind until we did some landscaping around back, to say that if it is possible to, or if in the process of residing we reveal the granite foundation and it can be shown, with trim, and the trim starts above the foundation, it goes up. That would be preference for the committee and certainly mine as well. So
That was Catherine.
yeah, great touch. So to this side of the house, so this faces Nancy's driveway, so opposite side, and lower left will be repaired. Upper right will be replaced with a new sash kit. This is definitely falling apart. The bathroom is very cold in the winter. We've had an amazing amount of that plastic film up to live here. And then this, so the most exciting change will be the existing footprint of the porch will remain as is. It'll be reinforced by Mast Hill with a new carrying beam and two new footers. With concrete sonotube to catch, and the porch area will then become the kitchen, and there'll be a little bit of a like a coffee nook on this side, typical kitchen arrangement here along this wall, and then stove along this wall. So these windows will all become Bosco double hung or Bosco triple kitchen window unit. So these, instead of being the aluminum and plexi with screen, will become actual windows.
And those will have muntins, like the other, to match the other ones, or they're gonna be?
Yes. You mean the same sort of trim treatment on the windows that exists now?
The different, the number of lights, the little dividers in the lights, it will have to match, or is it going to be no dividers?
Dividers, 6/6. Obviously new trim boards along the sides, all new cedar clap throughout. And then this is a detail of the existing area under the porch. Amazingly not rotted, amazingly not insect ridden. We will have a new header here, new carrying beams here, new footers to replace the cement block. And Chuck has that drawn here.
How is that treated on the outside? Is you gonna
Say again?
How is it going to be treated on from the outside view? Because right now you have the porch, and then you have, looks like vertical, some
Putting clapboard on it, right? I think that was talked about during the site visit, right?
Yes, right. Yes, because we've got this weird sort of paneling here, and that this will all be the same cedar treatment as the rest of the house.
Does it make sense to put a water table board at the bottom of the?
Absolutely.
No, at the bottom of the kitchen floor to differentiate it. Otherwise, you'll have this long column. I don't know if the other members. So that you'd have a horizontal, white horizontal board going at the base of the kitchen floor before it transitions into the clapboard below. Maybe it doesn't matter. Maybe the.
Oh, I see what you're saying. Well, I guess I just saw from the bottom of the windows to the ground, I saw clapboard and then water table at ground contact.
Carson,
Yes.
if you, you can let Chuck know that if you go with a water table there, that you can use a composite.
Okay.
So they won't rot.
Yeah, Catherine, I think right now it looks really funny because the window, like there's no trim, there's no right. I think once you get a window with trim and you have corner boards and a water table, I do agree with you. It look really funny right now to clapboard how it's presented now, but I think when the detail gets in there, it makes sense.
Okay, I agree.
Just so that I'm clear, is it because there's two different fields here and here? Is that sort of throwing your eye off?
I think from my goal was trying to diminish the slabby feel of that side, because you do see from the road, but I don't think it matters, because that side of that foundation is all, that side of that house is that way. So, so I don't think it matters. I was thinking of bringing that water table up to kitchen floor height to create a division between, the actual kitchen space and then the below space. But I think Daniel's correct. It will be diminished when it's all tidied up.
One plane, yeah. And the existing granite that we discovered after landscape is here.
Great.
So yeah. Anyway, it's a nice granite touch there. You can see there the condition of this windowsill. So most half of them are like this. So there is the underporch. This just says that, finally this place will get an actual survey. Always through my life, we've used the porch, we've used the fence as our boundary, and that's essentially been close enough to the plot plan. At least it got us to close and through close. But I'd like to know right where the lines are, so that so that the front can be correct. So the front line fence can be correct, which is, the next thing to talk about. Any more questions on siding and windows?
Yes.
Hello.
Hi. Am I talking or something? You say in the request here, you're going to replace backside windows, doors with new vinyl?
Yeah, it's
that-
not in our jurisdiction, Carol. That rear elevation can't be seen from a public way. And that's what I was pointing out.
And then up above, you're talking about replacing the siding with white cedar clapboard with black trim. So and no white around the windows, it'll be all black.
That was actually, that was my bad, the way I wrote that. White is what I'm going for, and then the black will just be the shutters that I'm having made.
Oh, okay.
To match, period. Yeah, no black trim on the house. I don't know what I was thinking when I wrote that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
We discuss the shutters. It's some that can be a later application because.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I was gonna say, Carson, if you don't mind, just because we don't have, it would be nice to just have a detailed drawing of the dimensions and stuff like that. I think big picture, we're not against them. I think they could make sense, but I think we'd make that a follow-up application for you. I think that might be better.
Okay, sure. There's a picture in the file from the town from 1905, and I'll include that. Those are the shutters that I'm after.
Okay.
And you've had no luck finding the date of the house.
Here's the story with the date of the house. The town has it at 1857. There is architectural and anecdotal evidence to suggest that it was 1727 elsewhere, and then moved where it is now and built around the foundation and hearth in 1805. Gary Tondorf Dick came over. It was supposed to be a short meeting. I was delighted that it was not at all, because I learned an amazing amount. He could have stayed all afternoon.
How long was it?
It was 3.5.
That's a short meeting.
That is a short meeting. Great. Now I know.
He owes you some now. He owes you.
Well, it was a delight. He discovered a beehive oven that I'd never thought was there, just amazing.
You always learn something with Gary.
Absolutely. What did he think of the date?
He put it at 1805 or 1806.
Okay.
And in terms of paint scheme, I'm happy to go with that as well. It does explain why there's a blending Federalist and Georgian period bit of architecture here. He said, typically builders were older for their day. They were in their 50s, and they built what they knew, and that was sort of the overlap of those two periods.
I really don't like hearing that 50s is old.
No.
I took offense too.
Yeah.
If I may ask, what are some of the features that you thought were from the 1700s that indicated 1700s?
The post and beam in the basement, the basic framing of the house definitely speaks to 18th century, as does that siding on the porch. The siding on the porch actually matches a photo that Chuck gave me from Paul Revere's house.
Wow.
So we were told, let's see, so Pauline Tavener had the place before the Ostheimers. Pauline told Joan and John that it was 1727, but likely elsewhere over by the harbor. But again, the records don't start till 1857.
Fascinating. Do you want to summarize the hardscape work that's in this package?
Yes, and I believe the packet I pulled up doesn't have the right image. Andrea, is there a chance that you have the most recent packet with the most recent draft? And I also did email you a second idea for the stone wall just tonight.
Oh, okay. Which I haven't seen.
Okay, so okay. Should I stop sharing?
Yeah.
Okay. So just to summarize, pretty simple correction in the front to what is now sort of a hodgepodge of granite pieces and millstone for steps. Frank and Lisa Corrado have planned a brick and granite walkway that comes straight out from the door, turns at a 90 about halfway down the yard, and catches the driveway. And I can pull that up if you're having troubles. And then over my lifetime, we've had multiple cars, mostly if anyone remembers Marsh's Bridge, the diagonal that used to cut from North Street. We've had multiple cars flip into the yard, which was exciting, and took out the fence a few times. So I would rather not put another fence up. If you all are fine with the stone wall, I'd love one.
Absolutely.
So I know that my point is that the draft, well, let's just take a look and we'll see what we see.
Okay, hang on just a minute.
Because I think we can see some of, well, you're all gonna break your necks if you try to read that.
Hang on,
No.
this is a full application, so I just have to.
I think there needs to be a little bit more info on the stones that you're planning on using.
Yes, absolutely. We can look at the two drafts that I have and see which you like. I think shortly before your visit, I had sent over the new hardscape photo, and let me.
Hang on just a second. All right, where is that sucker? I thought it was all included in this one, maybe not.
I'm looking at the hardscape plan in our little packet that we received.
Yeah, let me just
Okay, I can.
The one with the window box in the front.
Correct, and I just found it.
Good, yay.
And I will resume share. Okay. So yeah, couple things going on here. Obviously, with the shrubs gone after we did the sewer, we've exposed this granite foundation, which I love. This retaining wall, which is sort of hard to see because there's a sort of a Photoshop edit, is falling in. We're raising that and repairing that, but yeah, you can see 3x5 brick and granite landing, 2 steps down, brick and granite, and then brick to the driveway. There are 2 ideas for the stone wall, and I wanted your opinion as to which. I'm fine with either. And that is dry stacked loose boulder or dry stacked shape stone. And I will show you what I mean by that.
Is that a synthetic product? The shapes? There we go.
Is that a what product?
I was wondering whether the shaped stone was a synthetic product or not.
No, just carved to square basically and diagonal. So those are the 2 ideas that I have, and I was hoping to get your opinion.
What's the second?
This is the second, and the first is let's see, where did I put it? Here. And you know, the planter box is, you know, optional. I thought it was cute to have, you know, at driver height, some flowers. Doesn't need to be there, but the, you know, dry stacked loose natural boulders was the other idea.
How high are you looking for the wall to the height at the top of the wall?
2 or 3 feet.
I think the rusticness of this choice is more appropriate.
Yeah, I would agree with that preference.
2 feet, way more preferable than 3 feet.
2 feet, sure. Yeah, I like the boulders too. That was my first choice. Thank you.
I thought I saw in the application somewhere that you were going to take the millstones and place them as steps. Is that still a plan?
In the back.
Okay, I thought I saw at one point that they were coming to the front.
Yes, you certainly did. That was draft 1 that
okay, so that's okay. That's fine.
I wasn't into that.
Okay.
I think it's neat. I'm glad we have them and I can use them elsewhere.
Yep.
The house is so diminutive that, you know, anything that distracts from it. Too precious. It's just
840 square feet.
Wow.
It's an exciting project, actually.
I just want to start off with I appreciate that, you know, the care and the time that you have taken. I mean, Obviously, these are marked up photos with narratives. Not a problem. You've put a lot of time and thought, and you're very sensitive with this application. So, just want to start off with saying thank you for that. And then
welcome.
I'll open it up to commission members. Carol, do you have any questions or comments?
Unless I missed it when I turned the oven off, is the shingle roof on the front just beyond saving?
It absolutely is.
Too bad.
Yep, it is too bad. That's part of the deferred maintenance that we sort of wept over, that and the windows. That cedar roof was done, and the chimney was repointed, and the cedar roof was done in about 2000. So it's green and growing at this point, or else I would certainly try to save it.
Shame.
I don't know if it makes anyone feel better. I was looking at the historic card and it looked like it was asphalt in the historic card, but so it was cedar after that.
Yeah.
Any other comments, Carol?
No, just that, thank you. I mean, we so rarely get anyone who's as involved as you are and knowledgeable and really love the house enough to do all this work on it. It's just wonderful.
Thank you.
Any
Means a lot.
Eric, do you have any comments?
No, yeah, I'm excited to see it come to fruition and appreciate it as well as everyone else.
Great. Catherine?
I think it's really exciting and it's such a cutie, so it'll be fun to see it all loved up. So I think all the things you've spoken about are appropriate.
Justin?
I want to just copy paste Catherine there. Get it all.
Such a cutie.
Josh, any commentary?
Yes, I feel like I'm normally one of the least conservative members of the board, but I think the deferred maintenance on this house is kind of a blessing and a curse. In a sense, there's a lot of work that needs to be done, and that's a curse. Maybe it's two curses, but the other curse is it's such a jewel box. There's so much original fabric there. And so, I'm a little concerned. We just had before you, we had an applicant come before us that they want to replace 25 Brosco windows that were installed in 2004. I worry about the existing sashes that are there. Just what is the condition of those sashes? I think that your house is also probably earlier than the 1850s. I saw in some of the town historic inventory lists it as 1857, I think you said, but also in the documentation it says prior to 1830, and I think that's probably right. And so I've got some 1830s windows on my house, like yours. The pegs, they work great, and they were restored with a I think there was some Greenbush grant money that was used by a previous homeowner to restore them. And so if you were able, I think your house would probably qualify to utilize those grant funds, but if it were able, I would love to see those windows restored as much as possible. I also I've lucked into having wooden gutters on my house that are in great shape. If it's possible to replace with a wooden gutter, great. If it's not, I'd like to see a tear sheet on what exactly we want to replace it with, because your house is a simple house. My house was a simple house. It's been made less simple, and it has hurt the historic fabric. But on something like the gutter matters so much. I think on this house. And then the other thing I'd say is I've restored a house that had originally had a shake shingle roof and had 4 or 5 layers of asphalt shingles on top. And when I did the cost benefit analysis, an asphalt roof was cheaper, but it just the roof itself. But having to replace all the original sheathing, that spaced sheathing with decking, actually made it the same cost as doing just a shake shingle roof. And so at the end of the day, I said, let's take all the old stuff off and do. We were able to use the original slats, which were still in great shape underneath all those layers of roof. So I'm not a voter on this application, but if I were, I would say that I'd love for maybe you to come back with a more detailed window inventory on these windows, maybe with photographs of each window that you are recommending replacing. But other than that, I love your passion for this place, and it's a great house.
Thank you. And so I understand. In terms of the roof, you found that the age of the decking was such that the restoration of it
generally an asphalt roof is applied on solid decking, and a shingled roof is oftentimes installed on slats that are spaced. It allows it to breathe, to dry out. And those didn't have to be replaced on my house, on this particular house. They were able to just reuse the original ones without having to rip all that off and do the expense of new plywood decking on an entire roof is a large amount of money. And so potentially you may find it a cost savings or
depending on what's under the
or wash, depending on what's underneath there, to do a shake shingle roof, which would just really make this house pop.
Great ideas, Josh. And I just wanted to reiterate, I mentioned it to your contractor, but before we get too far away, the little side windows in the basement, those are 8/8, and we'd like those to remain 8/8 instead of being turned into 6/6.
Sure, sounds good.
Okay, thank you.
Let me just note that the two
driveway windows. Sorry to interrupt you, Josh. I just had to get that up before we kept going. Those are great ideas, Josh. I love
that was it.
Everything you said.
Andrea, would this house be in a mitigation zone from green?
I'd have to look. I think so. Let me just, if you can bear with me for a minute, let me just go take a look at maps online.
Mr. Lynch, do you know what we're talking about?
I don't.
Well, when they put the train through, the town was granted some mitigation money, and it's within certain areas near enough to the train tracks, you can apply for help in repairing and upgrading, and might be able to get a roof out of it or whatever.
All the mitigation that the MBTA was willing to do has been done, but they did leave us with the Historical Commission a $1.35 million sum of money that we give out, $100,000 of which we give out on an annual basis to homeowners or nonprofits. The town has benefited from this money as well, and it largely depends on the proximity to the Greenbush right-of-way. So that's what I want to check, and then I will be able to maybe we can talk when I get back next week and see if you are in fact eligible for that, because that would be a big help.
That'd be excellent. Thank you for bringing that up. That's obviously a huge opportunity. Something of note, when the train came through and the stream across the way at North Street was diverted, this basement went completely dry. It has been dry since that time. So this terrible looking pipe here that you see on the driveway, this predates us, but we're glad it was there. I don't know if it goes to a dry well or if they somehow piped it into the storm drain at the end of the driveway, but there's a antique sump pump back here because we would get it over the shoes with any decent storm. And not since the train came, and that creek went away. So
That's amazing.
And I will say, just because, you know, I have my 15 minutes of fame here. It's incredible the engineering that was employed for that train project. The fact that it goes under the downtown and that it's not horrendous to live near is still to this day a miracle to me. I think it's wonderful.
Can I tell you that the opposite happened with some other people with respect to depending upon where you were. For example, there were houses on North Street, and that once the brook was contained, their foundation sunk so that
Wow.
Because it's all peat over there, and so there was no water. And once the water was taken out, I used to own a home on North Street. The people who bought it from us came home one day after the brook was encapsulated and found probably like a 4-foot gap between the floor and their walls in the rear.
4 feet. No
Yeah.
kidding.
Yeah, so it was just unfortunate. So
Glad that your experience is better.
Yes.
yes,
Me too.
you had quite the opposite, so that's good.
We sure did.
So any other comments or feedback from the committee?
No, thank you.
So I drafted a rather long motion. I don't know if we're ready for a motion. There were a couple modifications and tweaks thrown out there. I'm not sure if somebody wants to make a motion or
would a continuance be unwelcome?
Yes.
I
kidding.
didn't see any. I'm one member. I didn't see anything earth shattering that we couldn't either capture in the motion, slightly modifying the language we have in our draft, or deferring some things for Andrea to confirm. But I leave that to somebody that may be willing to make a motion.
I have one thing that I'm a little unsure about, and that's the stone wall. It's just the photoshopped rocks. I just would like a little bit more. I don't know.
I'm gonna guess, Carson, that that's not something that you're making or breaking with your schedule. We could take that out and loop back onto that later with the shutters.
Certainly. Yeah, it's yes, that's a great point. I think Lisa did the best she could with Photoshop.
Yeah, she did a great job.
And what I'm happy to do too is submit, you know, because she and I had a lot of brainstorming. So Catherine, I'm happy to send you the various things that she worked off from, you know, real photos.
I love the idea of that rustic wall, just maybe some photographs of walls that you're trying to duplicate and
yes.
and specific names of stones so that we can document it.
Very good.
What I'd also like to include, I was pleased to hear you say, Carson, when you showed us that photo of the early clapboard, that your intent is to mimic the reveal as well as the length of the clapboard. And I would like to make sure that that's in the motion, because I think that's going to make or break that, you know, restoration. So
sure. There was, if I'm not mistaken, there was a house on North Street that Chuck was directed to, correct?
yes, I told him to look. Yeah.
Yes. He did so, and he said no problem.
Okay, that's great.
He can do it that way. Yep, he said absolutely.
Brilliant. Okay.
So, anybody want to make a motion?
Definitely not. You do it.
Oh, it's mostly, I mean, I'd read it if I could, but I can't.
I'll make a motion.
Thank you.
So, just
and actually, as the draft, I'll ask for help on anything that needs to be added, but I move to issue a certificate of appropriateness for 224 South Street, located in the Hingham Lincoln Phase 2 Historic District, for photos and narratives submitted with the application dated 24 August 2023. Work to include removal and replacement of all siding with new cedar clapboard siding with clapboard pattern to match the revealed historic clapboard butt arrangement, and a replacement and exterior trim with new wood products to match the existing. Repair existing original windows on the north elevation, which is the front, 2 right windows on the east elevation located on the second and attic floors, and 1 window on the second floor of the west elevation. All replacement and new windows on the east and west elevations are to be Brosco single pane, double hung, 6/6 wood windows. All windows on the north, east, and west elevations,
except for the basement windows to be 8/8.
except for the basement windows to be 8/8, and to include exterior storm windows. The existing porch located on the west elevation is to be reconstructed within the existing footprint and clad with cedar clapboard. Hardscape elements include a brick walkway with solid granite steps, a gravel stone patio on the west elevation.
I didn't see that in the most recent one, Justin, so I think that's an
Okay.
old version.
Okay, so strike a gravel stone patio on the west elevation.
You can strike the next parts too.
Okay. And I'm looking for some good verbiage for the stone wall, or are we going to leave that?
Reconstruction of the existing, yep.
Say again?
And then you could read the last part, the reconstruction of the existing granite.
Reconstruction of the existing granite retaining wall on the east elevation. And that's my motion.
All right, we're gonna
Did
take.
you want to
oh,
include
just give me
the,
one second. I just want to take that as the motion, and then we can add it in the discussion point by point. So, is there a second?
Addition? No, addition to that? He didn't mention 5/8 inch.
Nope. So,
windows.
one sec. Is there a second to Justin's motion?
I'll second it, and now you
Thank you,
want.
Catherine. So, any discussion points or edits to Justin's motion? Carol, did you have something?
The windows, we always ask for 5/8 inch.
I let me pull the packet. I think it was where
I think it was in the package called
I
up
think
five
it's in
eighths.
the packet, yeah. Where did that one go?
Would that be on the Windows cut sheet?
Yeah, I'm just double checking. It's the Brosco windows that we previously approved. I'm sure that's correct. Yes, so it is the 5/8 inch. Yep, they're on there correctly. Yep. So.
And
great.
all the trim and sills to match the originals.
What was that? Oh, sills, yeah. So we can add to the Justin's motion, trim and sill to match existing.
Yes, please.
Okay. Any other discussion or edits?
and the point about the granite foundation.
Oh, Catherine, do you want to add that edit to the motion?
Yeah, exposed granite foundation is at the east side on the driveway side as much as possible.
To be left
And
exposed.
the section on the west too.
Yep. Great. Any other edits or revisions?
If for a water table that's used, can be composite.
Great.
I have one clarification, Dan. The motion says all the newer Brosco single pane double hung, but the cut sheets, I
That's for the
believe.
east and west elevations. I didn't include any, because we don't have jurisdiction of that rear elevation. I didn't include any of the scope for that rear elevation as part of the certificate of applicant.
Okay, but the Brosco sash kits, which I think are being used on those east and west, don't appear to be single pane.
They're
They're
not.
low E argon insulating glass. Unless that's for a different location, but I think that's what's meant for those. Is that right, Carson? The Brosco double hung replacement sash kits, that's what's gonna be used to replace in the east and west?
Well, that's interesting, isn't it? Because I'm reading what you're reading. Low E insulated argon, composite glading bead, wood sash. But yes, I know that we are putting in everything that's going in for sash kits will be single pane with storm.
So it's just the
Okay.
wrong. That's
I
why I
think-
thought you were intending to do that.
I
because
think
that's
they,
why-
yeah, that's not the
That's
right.
why you want
Cut
the
sheet
storm.
anomaly.
Yeah, because
Exactly.
otherwise you wouldn't want the storm.
So you'll
Mhm.
resubmit that? That'll be resubmitted with, to Andrea, so it's all official in the packet?
Yes. So we've got casement, we've got the Matthews Brothers. Yep. So let me make that note. We need the correct cut sheet for the Broscos, right?
Any other edits or clarifications? Okay. Catherine, how do you vote?
I vote aye.
Carol,
Aye.
Eric,
Aye.
Justin,
Aye.
and it's an aye for me. So, okay, we'll see you back for shutters, for some hardscape things maybe, and follow up with Andrea for submitting the cut sheet for the Brosco single pane windows, and you can work with Andrea on colors.
Brilliant. Folks, before I let you go, what are we calling the age so that I can know which palette to choose from?
What did Gary?
I think you have done more homework than any of us combined, and I think you can work with Andrea on that. And I think you two can get the right color for this house. I don't question that.
Okay, thank you. Thank you all. Means a lot.
And then it seems you're on this house now. Look forward to you being on the committee one day.
Yeah.
No, it's I've got a good taste in my mouth. So we'll see if we can get back into Hingham life. I was last on the voter rolls in 1990, so I guess I'm due.
Oh, that's great.
Great. All right. Thank you, Carson.
Thank
you
you,
all.
Carson.
Nice to meet
Enjoy
you.
your night.
You too.
All right. We have no meeting minutes, but Andrea, I meant to touch base with Robin. Do you know if she started doing our minutes or
I gave her a call and she called me back, but she left a message. She was in Maine today, but we'll have a conversation tomorrow.
okay.
So I'll find out.
I think the hope
Exactly.
is if we can get 3 or 4 by next meeting, we'll start getting caught up.
That'd be great.
We'll go from there. So we don't have any meeting minutes. We have a meeting in a month from now. I believe it's, what day is it? The 19th, I believe, right? October 19th.
You know, I don't have my calendar here, so I don't know. Is it?
That's what I have in the calendar.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
Andrea, anything that you think that's on your radar right now that we're gonna need to do site visits for ahead of time that you know of?
Can't think of anything right now.
Okay.
So we may have a very light schedule if we're lucky.
Hey,
Because who did we continue? Just one, right? We
Yeah.
continued Middle Street. Did we?
Yeah.
The Halversons? Yeah,
Continued, yeah.
that's it.
Hey, I just want to say how grateful I am for all of you guys. That was like a team effort pulling that motion together. Everyone contributed to that. Was great.
And it is nice to have that little amendment opportunity.
Yeah, it's great, Daniel, that you put that together because it really helps, I think. It's hard to do it on the fly.
think we lost him.
Daniel?
Yeah,
Hey, he's got,
he couldn't
he's
take
got
it
to adjourn the
anymore.
meeting.
He's out of here.
Closed out the meeting.
Like, that's it.
Well, Carol, just
Yeah.
So
close
that
out
then
the
we have
meeting
to
then.
vote to adjourn.
Vice chair will
But
accept the
Vice
motion.
chair,
to
right.
adjourn.
Yeah, go ahead. So the vice chair is accepting the motion, so go ahead.
Move to adjourn.
Seconded,
Second.
all in favor? Oh, we
Oh, I have to do a roll call online.
Okay, Catherine? Aye. Justin, who's on?
Aye.
Josh
Aye.
and Eric?
Aye.
Are we missing somebody else? Oh,
You.
me, yes, I.
Aye.
Good night. all.
Okay,
night.
good night, everybody.
Night,
Thank you.
you.